the MMA Roadshow, episode number 131. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is back with me.
Yeah.
After gallivanting around the planet, making his way over to Tokyo, rolling business class like a G.
That's how we do it. What's gallivanting mean?
I don't know. I think it just means like...
On a horse?
Yeah.
Like
no,
a
that'd be
metal
galloping.
Horse? Oh, galloping.
Come on, bro. Work with me. I tried to use a big word. I'm not even necessarily sure if it's the right word. And you call me out on it, and then you don't even get the word right.
You're galloping around the universe.
We are back together. We are in Las Vegas.
Where we at?
You know what that means. You know we're here at Boomers. Thirsty Thursday is in full effect. Got a little crew back here shooting some stick over there. A couple of got a little Roy Orbison or something playing on the jukebox.
It's not the youngest crowd, but it is a lively crowd.
It's a lively crowd though. They got a crew over there. I think they went out for shots after work or something, man. That's how we do. But we're just sitting here having a couple of frosty beverages. I'm on vacation, Cold Coffee. It's been nice, bro. I've had a couple days off. I've been
yeah, you were only on the computer for like 6 hours today.
I know, that's kind of sad.
12
right?
hours.
It's so sad. My vacation is like I'm still doing emails and staying in touch with everybody. But
I mean, let's be real. Especially in this sort of role or in this bubble, you can't take time off. You know, I mean, at least not at this point. I mean, I think people realize it too. I mean, there's just so much stuff, so much news going on. Shit happens like what happened today. I mean, it's just so hard to get away from it. And plus, too, I mean, like, and you've been doing it a lot longer than me, but I mean, like, live and breathe junkie shit, you know? So, man. I mean, like, so you're always, regardless of whether you're working or you're not working, you're checking to see, hey, is there ways I can help out? Is there something that's getting dropped on the line? I mean, like wonderful listeners like y'all that are paying attention, stuff like that. We want to make sure you guys are getting the stuff that you need. So and I say this because I justify my own fault because I'm the worst too. Like I have days off and I'm like, I'm still going to be sitting at some point near my computer. So
I might as well grab it.
I might as well just look
go
to
through
see
some emails.
I'm like,
see what's happening in the Skype conversation with everybody. What can I chime in?
There should be some videos that should be monetized. Did we do anything on Twitter?
That's me, man. That's exactly what I'm doing. I've been with the company, I think like 11 years or something like that now. So I have 5 weeks of vacation a year. I never use more than like 2, to be honest with you. So I'm really just taking a couple days off. It's cool. Like tomorrow night, Friday night, when this comes out, obviously it'll be tonight. But taking my kid to his first concert. We're going to see Imagine Dragons at T-Mobile Arena. For whatever he loves Imagine Dragons. Their songs come on and he sings it. Believer and Radioactive.
That's a very mature listening. I mean, their stuff's really good. I mean, I dig like what they do. So it's not like. It's not like you're taking them to a fucking Roy Orbison concert. I love Roy Orbison. Actually, I actually dig Roy Orbison. But I'm just saying, like, Orbison and that kind of, like, older music in a sense, there's a lot of instruments still. And some kids can't handle all that stuff. So that's good. I mean, like, Imagine Dragons is some good stuff. So it's not like you're just taking them to just to a kid's concert. You're taking them to a legit. That's an adult concert.
Not like I don't got to go watch a boy band or something like that. So I'll probably enjoy it too. You know what I mean?
That's even better for him because he could say his first concert. He went with his pops. Is the lady coming as well?
She's coming as well. We're doing a little
family thing. That's cool.
Yeah, all 3 of us are going. We got decent tickets. We were gonna just get the cheap seats. And we
T-Mobile?
T-Mobile. Yeah. We were gonna get the cheap seats, but. I don't know, man. I chipped in a little extra and got some lower level seats that should be decent right off the floor. Not like a general admission on the floor or anything like that, but some reserved seats on the aisle. Yeah, because
especially with a kid, you gotta kind of watch that as well. I mean, like some of the general admission standing room would be almost impossible. Because half the one you're gonna be like trying to do this little cocoon around Eli.
Totally.
Which you wouldn't even be enjoying the show.
He's so overprotected. So we're doing that. Saturday we're actually gonna drive down to LA and go see. Well, he's not listening. It's a surprise, but he doesn't listen to the MMA Roadshow, thankfully.
Are you taking headphones? Are you doing like the headphones?
That's a good idea. We used to. We've taken him to a couple of NFL games and taken headphones.
Yeah,
it's probably a good idea. We probably
even if just those little gummy earbuds.
Stick in.
I was gonna say I have shooting headphones that you could wear, but they also have a microphone thing, so you could turn it on so you could actually hear talking better.
Well,
it picks up sound, but it kills the super high frequency.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Probably should.
But not a bad idea just to have them.
Protect the little man's development.
just in case.
Yep.
Just in case.
Saturday we're going into LA to watch or to see a Doc McStuffins exhibit. Yep, that's right.
I don't really know what that is.
I know you don't. Anybody that's got kids knows exactly what the hell I'm talking about. Anybody that doesn't is like, what are you talking about?
I was like, I heard stuffing. I was like, I love stuffing.
Doc McStuffins. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
She basically helps fix toys and dolls that are having problems.
Ah.
You know, is she
chicken flavored?
She evaluates
or
them.
turkey flavored?
Turkey McStuffins.
Maybe beef flavored. I love that chicken flavor.
Oh, man. So we're taking – it's a weird weekend. There's no UFC this weekend. There's no Bellator this weekend. There's nothing on Fight Pass. There's nothing on Access TV.
Wow.
When the hell do you remember that happening?
That's a rarity.
Nothing.
That's a rarity.
Yeah, so I'm just taking a couple days off. But I tell you what, man, took a nap today. Even though I was doing about 6 hours of work, took a nap in the empty house with my kid at school, just laid down in the middle of the afternoon for like 2 hours.
See, that shit feels good, doesn't it?
I'm getting old that I can take a 2-hour nap in the middle of the afternoon.
Naps are nice, man. Once you do it and you enjoy it, like your body starts craving it. So you got to watch it.
When do you get on that siesta plan, man? Just knock out in the afternoon for a couple hours.
Just midday, like sorry, dog, you can't reach me 2 to 4. 2 to 4, I'm off the grid.
Nap time, son. Nap time. So that's good. So I'm taking a couple days off, but still wanted to get together. We haven't missed a week since we launched this bad boy 2+ years ago.
Isn't it crazy?
Can't start now because of taking a vacation.
I was going online to, I've been slowly migrating, and for those of you that are listening, I flipped a switch on the website. So if you go back onto the website and you look at certain random shows in between, say roughly 95 to like 4 or 5, you're not going to see the player window there. So I've been going back and taking the embeds from the Audio Boom site and putting them in there.
Kind of making that migration.
Sort of migrating it over and stuff, trying to hit that. So if there are random episodes that you're trying to get and you're like, oh, man, just on a weird whim, I wanted to listen to episode 33.
Don't do New Orleans. Don't do Glasgow.
I know, right?
Those are low points in our career. No question about it. Or mine, anyway. I think you were fine.
I don't remember it. I don't remember those points in the career. At least New Orleans
we were
one.
We were still finding our way at that point, and we may have imbibed a little bit too much on each of those evenings.
That was hardcore. I still get like flashbacks, I think, every once in a while of New Orleans. But so that's there. So if you go to the site and you don't see it, always, and if you're really hunkering to do it, you can always go to iTunes. It's always there. It's on the Audio Boom. But if you want to see it on the actual site, you could always hit me, send an email to coldcoffee@themmaroadshow.com or hit me up on Twitter or whatever, and I can add it. I'll make it as a point to add that episode back to the site. Slowly doing it when I got a little moment. I'm going back because it's like I have to go to the Audio Boom, select the episode, find the embed code, go back over to the site, plug it in. It's not hard to do, but
data entry.
It's just tedious. It's just like mundane sort of thing. I just got to get around to doing it. That's what I tend to do on my days off. Is do this.
We're losers.
Do stuff like that.
I see, dude. What I was doing on my day off? Like I was sitting around like updating our rumors pages with like photos of like fixing fighter pages. Yeah. Basically, it's just like it's stuff that people don't even click on. But I'm like, I got to make it right. You know what I mean? I'm just doing. I get it. We're bad.
No, it's bad. It's funny. Heather busts my balls all the time. She's like, I know it's your day off, but all you're doing is working. I was like, it doesn't shut off.
But I'm working with a beer.
Yeah. So I don't mind being drunk.
Yeah, man. It's we're both addicted like that. We're workaholics, but that's all right, man. At least, hey, there are worse ways to make a living in this gig. That's for sure.
That's true.
So listen, I gotta say, last week, you got the first class travel back from Tokyo, or business at least. Let's not say first.
You know why? I think it was that Haneda. I think everybody, all the production crew and everybody was flying out of Narita.
Such a difference.
So I liked it. It was close. Even the Uber guy was like, "Oh, it's so easy." But I think that's it. Nobody else was flying. I saw Pravino from UFC staff. He's the only person from the UFC. I think that's why I got the upgrade.
Narita, if you ever go to Tokyo, first of all, I know it's one of your favorite cities on earth, and it is a cool city, man. It's one of the most unique, cultures and just being around. I mean, definitely go if you can. Danny Rubenstein texted me a day. I think he must have stayed a day or two later than you did, but he texted me. I think after you'd already left.
I didn't even see him.
He went to he was at the fish market. Oh man, dude, if you like sushi, The fish market, you could just go straight there. Just,
there.
Oh my God.
I should have went to that like the day I left.
So good. He was texting me and made me jealous. He just took a picture of inside. He's like, look where I am. But if you can go to Tokyo, do it, man. It's cool. Japan is awesome. I know you love it.
Prepare for earthquakes. Had another earthquake. This is 2 times in a row they've had earthquakes. Yeah,
but you didn't get locked out in your underwear this time.
Did not. This one I was awake and working. It's like a subtle, like granted, it was like I wonder if it was more like a aftershock because there was a bigger one out in the ocean the day before. But it was like this subtle, like I'm sitting in a chair, and it was almost like if you can imagine somebody, like your buddy behind you, grabbing the sides of your chair and just sort of softly jiggling them side to side, and then you're like, wait, is that like just like the floor moving? Like, you know, like if somebody turned on like, or say if you sleep next to the elevator, sometimes you might feel a vibration from like when the elevator goes by. Yeah. This legit, it was like just an overall big size. Like you just felt this jiggle, and you're like, wow, I can't stop the jiggle, you know. So it was just, that's when I was like, holy cow, I think this is an earthquake because I'm feeling it like through the whole room, you know, sort of deal.
Never had to deal with that.
But it was interesting, you know. But being in Tokyo, like if there's a place to be that has a history with earthquakes and about building,
they're ready for it.
They're completely set for it.
Right.
You know, like I was not even like probably the nicest buildings around. I mean, it was an older building, but the upkeep was nice. But even there, you could tell like the structure was built for what was going on. You know, so while I could feel it, you know, it wasn't as bad as what I thought it would be.
It's bizarre. You know? I've never been in one. All my travels, I've never been in one. I mean, I'm cool with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not feeling like I'm missing something.
It's not like you're missing anything.
I do have some trouble getting the jiggle to stop sometimes. Yeah. But, you know what I mean? You know, I'll tell you what. I was going to say, so if you ever go to Tokyo, just be ready. If you land in Narita, which is where most people fly, I think they're just starting to open up Haneda to more flights or whatever. Yeah. But if you go to Narita, just understand, like, you still got a journey to go, man.
Yeah.
When you land, don't be like, cool, we're almost to the hotel. Like,
no, it takes a little bit. And the traffic coming in and out, I think, from the airplanes as well is a good bit more. And if you are lucky enough to have the possibility of trying to do upgrades for something, you're going to be competing with a lot of other people.
Definitely.
Because on the way back, I don't think I put it in maybe like 2 weeks before, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah, that's unheard of.
You know, like you're not going to get it, you know.
That's
but
dope.
Got lucky. So.
That's dope. Well, let me tell you about my journey back from San Jose, California. This has never happened to me. This is pretty great. So being the mileage whore that I am, I was actually flying from San Jose to Phoenix and then Phoenix back to Vegas. So I could stay on American Airlines.
In the world.
I got to still get my miles on American Airlines. They did upgrade me, which was nice. I got first class for both. But so check this out. So I ended up working pretty much all through the night after Bellator in San Jose. Ended up getting about 90 minutes of sleep, which was awesome. Big ups. I got to shout out Gareth A. Davies. He had a hotel room that night. You know, I checked out. I checked out of my hotel and brought my luggage to the arena. Came back to the hotel to work. He was actually leaving that night to go visit a girl that he's dating. So he was like, hey, my room. He was like, if you want my room, go up there. So I actually dropped my gear off in his room. After I finished working, I actually got like 90 minutes of sleep in his room, which was awesome.
His room was good for like a few hours?
Yeah, because he left for the night. He had it for the day until the next day, but he left. So he was like, dude, just stay there. So anyway, got about an hour and a half of sleep. Went to the airport. Of course, on 90 minutes of sleep, you're tired, right? I mean, you know me, dude. I fall asleep before the plane takes off.
Yeah.
Man. I can fall asleep. So I get in the plane, fall asleep. I'm out. You know, it's like a 6:10 departure or something like that. So about 5:45, I'm in my seat. Done, right? 5:45 a.m., I'm out. Take off, land. We land. Kind of waking up a little bit. I look around. I look out the window. I'm like, I've never seen that before. I'm like, where are the mountains? This is not Phoenix. And so I look over, and the lady next to me, she's kind of looking around too. And she's like, she's from Phoenix, I've come to find out. But she's looking around too. She's like, what is going on? I'm like, I was like, I don't know. I fell asleep the whole time. She's like, me too. So I pull out my phone, and I open it up. And I pull out Google Maps, and the blinking blue dot is on Tucson Airport.
Oh, no.
Like, the fuck is going on here? So finally, like, we come to a stop, and we basically just stop, like, out in the middle of the runway, right? And I get up, and, the lady kind of looks at me funny. I guess we were supposed to stay in our seat. And she's like, do you need to go to the bathroom? I'm like, no. I was like, I fell asleep. I'm like, we're obviously not in Phoenix. I'm like, can you tell me what happened? But what had happened was when we were en route from San Jose to Phoenix, the air tower had a fire alarm.
Oh, geez.
So they had to empty the control tower. So that means no flights in, no flights out, because they had to empty it out and check it out. So I guess we didn't have enough fuel to circle and wait, so they had us divert to Tucson. So we just landed in Tucson. 3 people on the plane, check this out, we're so lucky that they were actually connecting to Tucson. So they were just like, I mean, if you just want to get your shit and get off the plane, you can. So they ended up getting a direct flight that they weren't supposed to have.
So they just had carry-on stuff?
They just had carry-on stuff, and they're like, you can bounce. So they got out. We were only on the ground about an hour. It wasn't that bad. I guess they cleared everything pretty quick. And then, they flew us in. It was funny. During all this commotion, because there were delays, because everything got delayed, because, you can imagine a whole airport that's a pretty decent regional hub for them is shutting down. Basically there were delays all that echoed through the whole system, right?
Yeah.
So it took away my seat assignment. So when I got into Phoenix, I was like, hey, I was on one of the planes that was diverted, obviously, while you guys were down. They were like, yeah, man, everybody. They were like, they were sending them everywhere, like Tucson. I was like, yeah, I was in Tucson. Vegas, they were sending them to Vegas, and I was like, oh,
so
I could have been on that one. So, yeah, crazy thing. But to wake up after falling asleep and be like, we are not in the place we're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's
Where
different.
the hell are we?
I didn't know if maybe you're going to say that they just landed in the wrong place, which has happened before. But
that would be funny.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, guys.
They're like, sorry. We hit it pretty hard last night and just came rolling hard into the into the cockpit.
Jeez. All right, well, you talked about what happened today. We're sitting down and recording on a Thursday night the way we always do. Just want to jump into it, man. Fabricio Werdum and Tony Ferguson. Should say big shout out to the man, Dave Mandel. He did a little bit of extra work for us. We talked about him working over the weekend. That was fantastic. He kept doing some work for us this week as well. It's definitely not a permanent thing by any stretch, but he helped us out this week, and it was great.
Probably not anymore after today.
Yeah. Well, that's not his fault. But no, listen, Douglas Lima and Rory McDonald, he talked to them at Bellator headquarters earlier this week. Great interview there, man. The line from Douglas Lima about, I thought Rory McDonald was going to sell me an iPad with the turtleneck he had on. I thought that was great. I said that on Twitter, and somebody was like, oh, I'd already seen it. Like 1,000 other jokes had been made on Twitter. I'm like, well, I didn't see those jokes. I thought it was funny, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. So he shot those for us, which was awesome. And then today, Fabricio Werdum and Tony Ferguson get into it at the luncheon in Los Angeles. And I imagine most people have seen it by now, but it's a short clip. So just to set it up, to make sure that you're up to speed, let's hear the exchange that happened between former UFC heavyweight champion Fabricio Werdum and lightweight Tony Ferguson, who's fighting for the interim title at UFC 216 next week. And for whatever reason, this shit happened.
It's great, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's a belt, bro. What does it mean to you? It's a belt. It's shiny. It's awesome. It's cool. It's a piece of hardware I can give for my baby boy.
Porque eu não comi nada antes.
Não comi nada. Eu vim treinar. Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
Então, vai te fuder, vai tomar no teu cu, meu.
What I'm trying to say is,
o problema é teu. Se tu falar, fala com o cara aí, vai tomar no teu cu, meu. Tá muito cheio da onda o cu do cachorro. Vai tomar no teu cu, meu.
Quando eu estou hablando, necesita cállate.
É tu problema. Cállate tu puta madre, maricón. Não, a mim não me digas assim, cabrão. Não me vengas a hablar assim, que não é assim que funciona, é? Tu vas falar assim com tu divisão comigo, não vais falar assim, maricón. É?
What I wanted to say is fake.
Não, vai te fuder, vai tomar no teu cu, vai te fuder. É isso aí, vai te fuder, não, comigo tu não vai falar assim, ó, seu merda.
I don't understand what he's saying.
Não entende, vai tomar no teu cu, é isso aí, ô palhaço. Tu é um palhaço, rapaz, tu é um cu de cachorro, rapaz. Cállate um caralho, vai tomar no teu cu, palhaço.
You don't want none of this shit, dog.
É, isso aí é o cu de cachorro, não tem esse negócio aí comigo. Comigo vai falar com a tua divisão, assim, ô palhação.
What the fuck you want?
Você não vai falar, comigo não vai falar. Quem que é o pau no cu?
You and your punk ass
não,
manager.
Teu cu, pau no cu, vai te fuder, comigo não vai falar assim, ô palhaço.
Big guy, right?
É, big guy, é isso aí mesmo. Não. É um cu de cachorro.
Later, buddy.
Esse pau no
Later.
cu, comigo não vai falar assim, ó, pau.
Hey, have fun fighting on my undercard.
Comigo não, maricón. Maricón de merda. Comigo não vai falar assim, maricón. É isso aí, vai te fuder.
I don't understand you. What the fuck are you talking about? Shut up before I ankle pick you.
Vai te fuder o pau no cu.
Anyways.
Assim, palhaço.
Anyways.
Palhaço, caralho.
Caralho.
Senão eu vou dar um pau nesse merda aí. Esse pau no cu do caralho aí. Vai tomar no teu cu, palhaço.
Obviously, I'm getting to some people, so which is good. I told y'all, you're not gonna like me when I get to the spot, and I said it. Este maricón. Bye, Felicia. He's managed by Ali Abdelaziz. So I don't know. Maybe they're playing grab ass and buy under 2 fights. But it's a problem. You got a heavyweight trying to pick a fight with a 155 pounder, interrupting my speech and doing my thing. It's cool. He had his time. I guarantee he's pissed that he got his ass knocked out. So don't matter with me.
So there it was, the multi-linguistic assault from Fabricio Werdum there on Tony Ferguson. And Cole Coffey, I know you weren't there, obviously. As I said, Dave Mandel was there.
Thank you again, Dave.
And had the headaches afterwards of...
Yeah. I doubt he's going to do us any favors anymore. Well, plus, too, because by the time that it finished, L.A., man, God love the people that decide to live in. L.A.'s a cool place, but to have 2-hour traffic by the time you get done to these luncheons, right in the middle of the town. So, yeah, we'll see if we can ask Dave any favors after this. But, dude, I wasn't there, but it was just.
I was gonna say you edited the footage, so you got to watch it, and you got to watch the full version of it happen. And for those that don't know, basically the language that I mean. It's just
multi-language.
Yeah. There's no. I mean, without being graphic, it's a gay slur. I think a lot of people know what Medicone means, but bottom line is it's a gay slur.
Yeah, and we're starting to notice a pattern with Fabricio. Like that's his go-to slang. Like the go-to slur. It's the only thing he kind of keeps saying. It's kind of funny seeing the online people say, all right, he needs to come out of the closet. Now, obviously, he has issues, if he keeps saying it over and over and over, kind of like, I'm going to call you that because really inside, I am.
But to me, first of all, it's incredibly unnecessary because, number one, you kind of put that gray area sometimes when people are trying to hype a fight, right? You're like, well, we're trying to sell a fight, and so he went over the line, but I kind of understand his motivation. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to get under a guy's skin or sell more pay-per-views or whatever. But that ain't happening. Those two ain't never going to fight.
I was going to say, it's not like these two are trying to, like, he's just, you could tell he was frustrated or whatever, but it just, out of the, if you just take it without looking at the backstory, it seems so out of character that it even happened in the first place. Like, why? Just because... I could see where you could be like, hey, dude, my bad. I know you're talking and I'm talking over here. Don't fucking wave your hand. You could say something along those lines. But the fact that he went on this just nonstop tirade at him, then it's like, okay, there's something else going on here. There's some other little issues that have been sort of stewing because the fact that, Fabricio just went on and on and on. And then at that point, Tony kind of egged a little bit, but Tony he tried to continue on with what he was saying, but Fabricio didn't want it to drop. Obviously he's been going and thinking about this, and I'm not sure if the UFC understood when they paired these two together of the history of his management, dealing with Ali Abdelaziz.
Ali Abdelaziz, who also manages Habib Nurmagomedov.
And there's been mad Twitter wars between Tony and Ali and then Habib as well, but ultimately about Ali,
Right.
And I don't know if it came down to the fact that, Ali is, has just been pumping up stuff in Fabricio's air.
That was never addressed in this conversation,
right.
but it's what's under the surface.
Right.
I agree with you. I bet that has something to do with it.
You hear it at the very end, Tony like saying, oh, he's his manager's
right.
Ali, I think Tony realized that something was going
Werdum
on.
never said anything, but I think that was right.
But I also think too, that probably is why Tony made the mistake of sort of just coming out like he did. There were better ways you could say, either just sort of look over and maybe just say, hey, you want to finish your question, and then I'll take mine, or something, some better way. But instead, the way that he kind of snapped at Fabricio, I could see where it set up.
Tony's got that little edge about him. He's got that little attitude. No question about it.
That doesn't make it right for him to say, all right, hey, let everything, some of the stuff that I heard, that he was saying, even outside of just saying, the equivalent of faggot, but in Spanish.
Right.
Dog's asshole, all this other shit.
You actually took pleasure in that one, right?
I laughed my ass off. I was like, I haven't heard anybody. I love dog's assholes. I haven't heard anybody call anybody a dog's asshole, I think, ever in my life. So I laughed my ass off. Like, that one's funny to me.
Like, that's okay.
Like, that's just funny. Like, that's just being ridiculous.
It might offend dogs.
It might offend the dogs.
But that's okay.
But that's okay. The matter that it comes down to is this was an official press conference by your employer, people that you're representing. So you have two guys representing the brand. So the fact that one guy can't keep it together, this is the kind of thing that I would think the UFC needs to come out and make a statement about it at some point, because they just had a guy that was in front of all these people, just in a sense, just do the whole thing that this past 2 years or more that they've been trying to fight the stigma, of the UFC being anti-gay, the homophobic, and all this other stuff. Here you got a guy right here that just went off on it. And by the fact that, the guy could have said it in English and maybe thought he was getting away with it because he's saying it in Spanish, I think people still understand what was going on.
Right.
So it sucks that in the heat of the moment, that's his go-to thing, But it definitely felt like it was an explosion of something that had been simmering underneath. And I'm not sure if that's because of his manager talking into his ear, because ultimately there's no beef between these two. They're never going to fight.
Right.
Unless they fight in a stupid cafe, a cafe lunch thing. They're never actually going to meet in the octagon. So I think it's a whole bunch of, you've been talking shit about my team, so in turn, F you. So don't you do whatever. But there's certain ways to vent that frustration without possibly running the risk of alienating the organization that's paying for you to be there. So I would think that the next step, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I'd be a little surprised if the UFC doesn't come out and say something. Either whether it's a verbal reprimand or if it's something.
And I'd like to see Fabricio say something. I mean, even if the UFC doesn't address it, I mean, as we sit down to do this, we're talking about, 7 hours after it happened, more or less. But that's plenty of time. 7 hours is plenty of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You would think his manager would say, hey, we need to get out in front of this. It was a heated explosion. You need to apologize for what you were saying.
And I know some people say, come on, man, political correctness these days. This is cage fighting, da-da-da-da-da. But, dude, it's at this point in our society, I think we understand that terminology is offensive to a large segment of the population. You're not going to drop out there and drop an N-bomb on somebody right in front of everybody and just be like, it's no big deal, right? Like, hey, take your PC ass out of here, man. We're hyping up a cage fight, If Tony Ferguson, says that to Kevin Lee, drops an N-bomb on him, you think everybody's just going to be like, well, come on, man. They're hyping a fight. It's cool. No,
it's not.
We get it. It's offensive. It's wrong. Yeah. And I just think there's no excuse. As you said, I don't care if it's Spanish or Portuguese or whatever. And maybe it's a little bit different, but it's not different to me, man. I feel like Fabricio Werdum needs to step up and say something here. And I don't know. Like you said, the UFC probably needs. Not probably. The UFC needs to address it. They really do. And I think Fabricio needs to address it as well. It's not right.
It sucks because I feel my own, because these are, I think moments like these are points where it's a good point to sort of self-reflect on your own self, because I even think about it. I think the same way. I've come a long way in the terms of PC, and I'm not all that much PC or correct about a lot of things. I apologize half the time because of the stupid shit I'm out, but I'm not a very well-educated person, even though I came from a great university in the great home state of Ohio.
Wait.
But that being
Don't
said,
you have a degree from the Ohio State University?
That's right. Yes, I do.
Oh, and he just
but,
said he's not well-educated.
Well, in certain things. I have the most amazing jazz hands ever. But, I find myself even, I know when I get fired up, I say fucker a lot, or bitch, and, while fucker doesn't really, I think, get the same connotations, bitch a lot of times can catch a lot of heat too, because then people are like, oh, are you talking bad about women, even though I could be talking to a dude. But the fact when you're starting to throw a slur or a phrase out there that has been equated to a certain lifestyle,
get it,
or a certain, maybe not even a lifestyle, just people's being, people say, oh, I don't agree with this. Oh, they are a this.
See, if a guy says he hits like a bitch or he's a bitch or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I guess, like, I understand, especially feminists, they may, Fernanda, if she was sitting here,
she'd yell at us.
She would yell at us and say, like, well, you're saying bitch.
I normally wouldn't get upset.
And I would say, yeah, you're going a little too far right there. Like, I'm not saying you're like a woman. I'm just, bitch is just
Is that me being hypocritical? Because I could see that to myself where I'd be like, that doesn't bother me. But I could see where others. But I guess
it's a slippery slope, I guess. You know what I mean? Because I agree. I mean, if you say you hit like a girl, That's definitely like I love those like is it Gatorade or Nike that has those like hit like a girl, and it's all like empowering female. I was like, that's a cool ad campaign. You know what I mean? Like I like it. Like it is wrong to just straight up say, you hit like a girl, but if you're saying like you're a bitch or you hit like a bitch or you're being a bitch or whatever, like I don't really equate that as to saying like I'm making you equal to a female. To me, it's more just like you're. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm hypocritical too.
Yeah, I know. And I guess it's one of those things too. I think where if you're in your backyard and with your buddies and you could say certain things that's not going to affect anybody because you know your friends, you know what's going on, and they know you and they know your sarcastic, crazy sense of humor, and they get it, and they still love you, and they know that hey, you just talk like a damn sailor, and what you say is pretty much inappropriate for general public. Then you don't say it. That's the area where you maybe say it. Doesn't mean that you can go back and like, I love hanging motherfuckers. That's going to be wrong regardless. Hopefully your friends choke you the fuck out. But I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to throw like things out there that are really shitty to say.
Yes, that would
be
shitty.
And even in a backyard situation, that's still shitty. But there's, if you're back in your backyard and you're talking shit and you're keeping it amongst yourself and only your dumbass friends.
You don't have Facebook Live.
If you don't have Facebook Live and you don't have media in front of you,
cameras, the Los Angeles Times.
You have to control your shit. Yeah. And if you don't control your shit, you have to take the punishment from it. If you're going to go out there and speak and say something crazy, and the thing is, this dude's starting a trend like he says it over and over. When DC came out and said what he said about Jones, he fucking put a tweet out there that just said it. I mean, like, the dude has issues, and it's crazy because I like the guy a lot.
He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever be around.
A lot. I don't know what it's going on.
Super nice. And he's got the goofy smile, and he's funny, and he says Luke Rockhold has too much cock. He's funny. Like, he's a good dude to work with. Incredibly talented, you know what I mean? Like, amazing.
Is it that?
But this is not right. This is not right.
It's that Chechen money.
Well, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. And I was going to kind of transition that, but you brought it up. We've said it on here before. You're like, I don't really know where I stand on that whole story. Like, I get it. Like, the atrocities that Kadyrov has committed are serious. How I feel about fighters associated with them, I don't know. Because, like, a lot of them, I think, and people have said, like Chris Weidman, Frank Mir said, like, look, I didn't know. And I'll be honest, I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody had told me, hey, John, man, you want to come with this company, man? This company wants to do big fans of the MMA Roadshow, man. They want to fly you and Cold Coffee over here first class to do a show just so they can watch and be part of their event. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome to me. You know what I mean? I would probably do it and not necessarily know. And I get it that, hey, a quick Google search would tell you, but look, I'm not a background check guy. You know what I mean? I'm just not. So, like, there's people that went over there once, took some pictures, took some money, and then maybe came back and people told them, and they're like, oh, oops, I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? I get it. But he continues to be associated.
He keeps doing it. I'm wondering.
The stories are out. Yeah. The stories are out. You know, the Chris Weidmans of the world, the Frank Mirs of the world, the whoever's of the world that went over there once, and have said, shit, my bad. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know. I give them a pass. I honestly do. Yeah. I honestly give them a pass. But the stories are out now, right? I mean, it's gone mainstream. You can't say, well, I don't read Bloody Elbow, so I didn't know. I don't read MMA sites. I didn't know. Now it's on HBO and Real Sports. And you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. You're seeing that, and you're still associated with it. Like, So
props to dudes I know, because I just looked up and singing at Cream Zidane and those cats. Like, they've done some incredible work going behind the scenes, and I'll leave it to those cats. Like, fucking kudos to them. Like, they're going out and doing the work to, like, dig up this stuff. I know they're, have histories in the sports over in that area, taking the time to really kind of dive into it. I mean, the shit that they're putting out is eye-opening, because I'm the same way. I have no idea. Like, I can barely keep in touch with the madness that's leading our own country, let alone the madness that's running other countries. So I appreciate when guys go out there and put it on the line to bring that stuff. So before we continue, I wanted to make sure I give kudos to the cats out there on the grind doing that investigative good shit, man. Like, keep it up.
Here's the thing: is I'm not trying to sit here and judge Fabricio Werdum. I'm not saying Fabricio Werdum is the devil and you should never watch a fight of his again and he needs to be kicked out. I'm not saying that. But I think all of us have moments where we fuck up, right? And they can be teachable moments, right? They can. I mean, I got a 5-year-old kid that sometimes does stupid stuff, and I pull him aside and be like, bro, you made a horrible decision here, and this is why. This is why it was wrong, and this is how you need to act moving forward. And that's all I'm saying. Situations like this.
Yeah,
when you're,
bring it up, like discuss it. Like, what were you thinking when you said it? You know, I mean, because I guess, you know, it could be one thing where you're like, dude, don't do this again. Don't do this again. They're like, okay, put their head down and be like, to maybe address, because, yeah, I mean, everything I've seen from Fabricio leading up to this, he's always been a super nice guy, funny, goofy. But I just want to be like, what has happened in this past year or two with you? And one of the things I see is this connection with this dude throwing money in your pocket. I don't know if, you know, if that means hanging out and eventually you see so much of it that it starts becoming the cool thing.
like
because
desensitized or whatever.
Desensitized, yeah, because it's starting to become his go-to thing, you know. And I just I hate how it tarnishes what I think of him as a person, because I like the dude.
If you're like, dude, I love this guy, but man, these are the most racist guy I've ever met in my life. Like, it's kind of hard to keep liking that guy. You know what I mean? Like, but bro, he always picks up the tab with our beers and he tells funny jokes, and he's an MMA fan, and like he went to Ohio State, and we're like, it's cool, man.
Oh, that'd be so hard.
We like all the same stuff. It's just that he hates black people. You know what I mean? You can't do it. You're like, wow.
At some point, you got to start looking at your associations and be like, all right, maybe I can't, you know, because you're right. I mean, at some point, even though it's like I liked everything about him, at some point, you know, keep spewing it. You're going to start losing fans. You're going to start having to answer to it. And the people around you need to start asking, why am I hanging out with this dude? Every other word is this.
Yep.
Because, you know, eventually, you know, as nature is, you will be guilty by association.
Look, people can change, man. Dana White, you know, obviously not the most level-headed guy at times. Certainly one that doesn't watch his language. But he's edited some words out of his repertoire, right? I mean, he used to be a guy that would drop the gay F-bomb, you know what I'm saying?
All
He would
kinds
say
of stuff.
And he is, you know, he's actually apologized for that. He's never apologized for, you know, cussing out Loretta Hunt. He's never apologized. I mean, there's things yet, but he has apologized for that and said, I was wrong, and I don't say those words anymore. And that's all I would like to see Fabricio Werdum here. You know, I'm not trying to sit high and mighty up on my, you know, exalted seat here and pass judgment down on Fabricio Werdum. Dude, I do dumb shit every day. But I just would like to see him man up and be like, dude, I don't know, you know, this is what happened. This is what I was thinking. And I was wrong, and I'm going to fix it moving forward, man. That's all I want to see.
I agree. It would be a nice gesture because, I mean, I think you, like myself, and a lot of other people, I mean, this dude, I mean, I hate to think that all athletes are role models because I hate putting that onus on them because they're not. That's not their job. Isn't to be a role model. Their job is to be an entertaining sports person.
Exactly.
And in that, he is an entertaining sports person. But unfortunately, by proxy, a lot of these people are becoming role models for somebody out there. So you always want to feel like, hey, can you be maybe better in this? And you know, and maybe that's not their job. Maybe that's me, you know, and us, you know, putting unfairly this role model thing. That's not what they signed on the contract to become. But unfortunately, being a person in the, you know, out in the popular nature, you know, pop culture, things that you say and do, unfortunately, are going to be thrown against you. And I think that you're right. There's moments when you could say stuff and you just get caught up and you're fired up for whatever reason. You say and you do dumb shit. But come back out and try to find some way to realize that, yeah, you know, I messed up and let me own up to it and work to getting better. If there's some underlying issues, you know, that, you know, you need to work on and fix, then you do it. But if you're also like, hey, you know, I just think that way and you're just kind of a dick now, then I guess just be a dick and realize that people are going to think you're a dick.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it sucks. But it was a little surprising because just for the fact that it came out of nowhere and from a guy that I never thought would go on a big rant like that. You know, I was a little surprised about the whole DC tweet. I just thought that was out of left field, and I wasn't thinking about it. I thought he was just drunk.
Right.
I just seemed, oh, he's fucking wasted. He's doing something stupid. But today makes me think that he wasn't drunk at all.
You're right in front of the cameras.
Like,
you know what you're there for.
He thought that was funny and cool, and I feel like he's trying to impress somebody. You know, and there's only one certain
making
group
that
of
leap,
people.
making that, it's,
you know,
it's,
I don't know.
Well, You know, it's funny. One thing that just crossed my mind, I know this is kind of random, but you talked about the leadership of our
Dogs'
country.
assholes.
Dogs' assholes. After dogs' assholes crossed my mind, you talked about the leadership of our country. So funny.
There's a dog's asshole.
The whole Donald Trump versus the NFL thing.
It's crazy.
It's so kind of ridiculous. But somebody tweeted, I wish I would have noted who it was. I had totally forgotten about this, and I don't know how I forgot. That Donald Trump was involved in the USFL that sued the NFL back in like 1984 when they had like the competing leagues. Like, he probably still has a chip on his shoulder from 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Where they had like the antitrust suit and he lost a bunch of money. And I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I'm like, you talk about.
I don't think he thinks that far ahead anymore. He's so quick, like so right now that I'm sure he does have a grudge. But I mean, this is the business guy that's made businesses, lost businesses, ran businesses under, brought new businesses up. I don't think he thinks that long term about little things like that, especially when like that, something like that where he probably lost money. I'm sure that's so long ago he doesn't even care. That was probably like 2 wives ago. I think he's moved on to bigger and better things for him to kind of be worried about.
It just made me think. I was like, I bet there is some personal feeling.
Yeah, that is some crazy shit, though.
It's funny. That
is some crazy shit.
My wife is teaching Eli the presidents right now. Like, she's got these little president flashcards that shows like portraits of them and then like their name and all that stuff. And he's learning the presidents in order. And it's funny. So like because of that, like anytime he sees President Donald Trump on TV, he's like, oh, it's the president, and it's just funny because me and Danielle are just kind of like,
well, he is. Fortunately or unfortunately, whichever side or whatever you think, but he is. But yeah, that's a crazy one. I mean, that's gonna be a whole nother discussion. But
all right, well, listen, it seems like an eternity ago, but the way the sport moves so fast. But I did want to talk briefly about the fights that you and I both saw because we talked before the fight, but we haven't talked afterwards. I guess let's start with your card, man. UFC Fight Night 117 over in Tokyo. Interesting night for you, right? I mean, out of all the cards that we've done all over the world, I mean, you and I have been fortunate enough to go to a lot of places and cover a lot of events. There had to be more non-English speaking winners that night than any other card that I can remember because, I mean, I was staying in touch with you, and about halfway through the card, you hadn't had anybody come back and speak in English yet, and that's tough. I mean, again, we're not trying to denigrate anybody that doesn't speak English, but when we're there to produce video and collect interviews, and sometimes the translators are good, sometimes they're not. Interesting night for you back there in the back.
Yeah, I'm just looking at quickly. Gokhan Saki was the first English-speaking person that won, and he was saved for the post-fight presser.
So literally all your scrums.
Literally every scrum before that was a foreign language.
Nuts.
It sucked. Nothing. I'm like, but like you said, it just in the sense like like being able to have like an interview flow.
I mean, we're there to collect video and audio. We're there
and
to.
People want unfortunately, most people listen to this. They're listening in English. But even just the whole flow, the whole process of having to say a question, have it go through a translator, get to a fighter, come back. It drags the process out. You're missing the fights that are happening, so you don't get to really get a good view. So then I'm like, how am I supposed to speak intelligently on the fight that I didn't really get to see?
Yeah.
And it just makes it tough. But, it's going to happen. You're in a country, that primarily the card's going to be from people from the region or somewhere around there, So it made it a little bit more difficult at the end of the night.
Japanese media always very reserved.
Lord.
Were they quiet? Because traditionally speaking, they were pretty reserved. I remember the first Tokyo event that we did over there because I never made it over for a Pride event. I remember the first Tokyo event that we did, and I wish I could quote offhand which one it was. I want to say it was the pay-per-view, right? Was it Edgar and Benson was the first Japan event? But I know it was one of those. But I just remember that the PR team at the time, they literally came up and they were like, listen, and it was the local PR agency. They came up to us and they were like, listen, traditionally the Japanese media doesn't ask a lot of questions, so feel free to ask as many questions as you want and be, don't worry about being respectful. Like, hey, one question and pass the mic. They were like, ask as much as you want. Is it still kind of playing out that way?
And it was. And even in the post presser, so what we were trying to do was I would let the Japanese media go first, and then I would do my English one, so we didn't have to try to work it in there. But also, so the translator wouldn't have to translate everything to English. To me, when I'm just like, just get your stuff.
Just let them flow.
And then I'll go and I'll do mine. So there was one media outlet to my right. There were other media, obviously, in the scrum with us, maybe anywhere between 10 to 15 people or so. but it was just this camera guy and his reporter, maybe like another person off to my right that were asking questions. It was just the one guy asking, but they were all together as a unit. And then I would ask mine. And everybody stayed, but I'm just like, okay, the one guy, and I'm like, that's it? Okay, well, I'm going to do mine. And everybody just stayed and record. And it was just like, so there was no, like, play off of anybody else's questions or anything like that.
Right.
And, and it gets tough when you're like, I didn't really even get to see that fight, and so you're trying to go. And it's just tough because, say if you say a question and you get a good answer, you lose that whole, like, say if he's excited about the answer, you lose that whole, like, moment to kind of just follow it up immediately while they're elated and while they're smiling because you got to wait for the translation. And then you're like, oh, okay.
Then you ask the follow-up
And then
question, wait for that to be translated.
It's just like,
it just totally kills the vibe. It's
post-presser was – luckily they asked some in the post-presser because I thought I was going to have to do everything. And I did ask a couple questions from the back camera deck, which I've never done. Usually, I mean, like – I just sit back there and let all the reporters in the front, like I'm literally in the back of the room. You don't do it. But there was a couple points where I did jump in on this one. But so luckily it wasn't just silence because they did kind of say, hey, we will probably come by you if nothing's happening. And I'm thinking, like, I never have to ask questions. I'm in the back working the camera. Like, what is going on here?
Well, let's start with Gokhan Saki. You mentioned Saki being the first English speaker that came back. Fun win, no doubt about it. I mean, the stylistic, but I guess I just want to ask you about kind of what you thought about the fight, what you thought about because you got to do the interview ahead of time. We played it on the episode last week. Yeah. Love the guy's intensity. He kind of, I think especially with Shogun bowing out, I think Gokhan almost became like the darling of this event in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Like
he was the biggest exciting factor about it.
I think so. You saw his social media presence is strong.
Yeah.
First of all, he's very active, and again, I don't know if it seems like it's more him. I mean, I'm sure it's people around him too, but it does seem like it's him personally. Yeah. But he's very active on social media as far as like, hell, retweeting the interviews that we did with him, stories, having messages, doing all those things. So he's very active on social media. Definitely, I think his presence is very commanding in the room. Like it's very. Again, I wasn't there physically, but just seeing it from a distance, it seems like,
Oh, yeah. When he came in post-fight, I mean, well, even like the pre-fight, but yeah, when he came in post-fight, you could tell you could tell this guy had been places, seen thing, and was commanding sort of demanding an air of just, you had to pay attention to him, But
I'm excited about the guy. I tell you what,
am too.
I was in San Jose for Bellator, and I was talking to some people that, I'll leave nameless there, but I think even they were like, that's the kind of guy we would sign. You know what I mean? The UFC, he's 0-1, but they went ahead and rolled the dice with him anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that I get the
0-1.
feeling.
Granted, that one was 2004.
Right. But I think the UFC,
he had a whole career after that.
I don't think they're right. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to try to make this guy into a title contender. I don't think they're going to. Try to
fast
walk
track him. You're talking about?
Yeah, I don't think so, man. I think it's going to be all about just smart placement as to where he fights. You know what I mean? Like obviously, you could do it in Dutch cards. They talked about going to Turkey at one point, but that place is in civil unrest right now, so I don't think that'll ever happen. But smart locales. Places that have kickboxing roots, that sort of thing. I think they'll do that, and I think they'll stylistically match him. I think they'll do kind of the Strikeforce / Bellator way of matchmaking. I mean, like, there's literally no reason for us to go, man, does Saki know how to wrestle? Like, who cares? I don't care if he's learned to wrestle, right? Like, I don't know. I kind of think they're going to take that path, and I kind of hope they do. I'm excited about this guy's career, but I don't think it necessarily ever gets him maybe within sniffing distance of a title shot, but I think he can be involved in just some fun fights.
Well, definitely that. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, like, I think he's probably winning. I mean, he said that he wanted 3 or 4 years is what he kind of envisioned. So he says he wants to have the championship. He wants to have that belt. So, I mean, he needs to kind of make some moves in the next year to get in that contention if he wants to try to have that belt and hold it for a year or two, which I think most people, when they want to get that belt, they want to hold it for a long time. But I can see where he can envision in his head that he wants to get that belt by the end of next year. If he could fight 3 or 4 times. And this is the division where if he makes the right moves, and depending if they do push him up there, he can make a fast track for somewhere to the top, to where maybe not next year, but say if he fights 3 or 4 times get that maybe on that 5th fight. If he starts running on a streak and gets 4 more wins in decent fashion, he's right there.
I mean, it is crazy. You're right. In that division, I mean, probably light heavyweight outside of heavyweight is probably, the 2 divisions where you can make the fastest run, right? I mean, look at Volkan Ozdemir.
And especially with the presence like him, with the background, because it's not just like a guy that came in and was like, oh, hey, I just happen to have a unique style. The guy's got a presence behind him. And I think what they've done, and they've been learning from the Sages, the Pages, and all this other stuff, is that we can't push too quick, but if they have a following, we're going to try to do something. We're going to push him in do some way. I mean, Henrique was a dangerous opponent.
He is.
I mean, he's not top 15 or whatever, but I mean, he's a dangerous opponent. But Gokhan just hurt him with his hands. Like, his hands were really, really quick. Henrique tried to do a takedown, but he stuffed it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, all this dude is doing, like, he can literally probably just go to the gym now for the next 6 months and do nothing but takedown defense and still have hands better.
Yeah, like he doesn't need to
than 90% of the division.
Well, and I do love the fact too that because he was fading. There's no question about it. He was starting to tire, but I love the fact that he can step up and just say, you know what, man, I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna work smarter. I gotta train differently. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the win, that's why fighters always say, hey, the loss, that's where I learned more from. You know what I mean? So for a guy to say I won, but not to be afterwards being like, and you see, I'm the baddest dude on the planet, it's saying, I think essentially he was indirectly addressing his cardio issue there. It was like, I've got to train differently. I've got to train harder.
Yeah.
I like that. It makes me think like, okay, hold on. He's going to go back and he's going to take it seriously. So, I don't know. I don't have the title aspirations as you. And I will say this. I do want Henrique da Silva to get a little bit of credit because I think Henrique knew what was expected of him.
Yeah.
Which, you know what I mean? It's going there and stand and bang, and he did it. You know what I mean? And I can respect that.
Yeah.
I don't have quite
a lot of damage.
It did take some damage.
And I
was okay with the stoppage. I know some people were like, but he was getting beat up on the feet.
It was going there. So, like you see Dana and all these people are like, oh, early stoppage, whatever. He saved the fighter.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But at that particular instance, could they have, and it sucks, it's the same thing with like the whole Conor thing. Should they have let Conor take more damage, let him go down, he could have given a little bit more damage and make it to the point where the fighter actually had stopped defending himself. I mean, it looked like there was no doubt that it was going that way, but you're also having a gassed guy. Was he able to really kind of keep pushing on it? I mean, could Henrique have actually recovered? It looked like it was going that way regardless. I still think it was maybe a hair too early, but I'm not upset about it because I felt like within the minute after that, it was going to be done anyways.
I could see 1 or 2 punches on the ground, but I did. To me, it was very much like Conor. Like, I was okay with the Conor stoppage. I'm like,
I mean, ultimately, that's my own savageness where I guess I'm like, all right, let him try a little bit more. But it was going that way, so I guess kudos for the ref to realize and be quick enough to say, yeah, I've seen enough fights. I know where this is going. Might as well stop it now and save a few brain cells for the guy on the bottom, But his hands, Saki's hands were fucking nasty, man.
Dude.
Oh my God, they were just quick.
And he can
super
the accuracy,
quick.
like just to get around your defense. He can. It's just
dude. Like he expended a lot of energy. And I could see where if he could control those bursts, then he wouldn't have that maybe such a dump by the end of that first round. But man, I was super, super impressed by, you're right, his accuracy and the fact that, I mean, just the whole week, people were popping and excited to see it. He had a crew. So when he weighed in, there was a crew. When they did the face-off, there was a crew. And it's just like, that's exciting. It makes me excited when I see a new fighter come in and bringing some people because it makes it fun and exciting just to be there. And I think that's the kind of thing that hopefully the UFC does. I mean, I don't want them to like, all right, hey, let's give him a top 10, his next opponent. Right. No, but give him easily maybe one that's easily between the 15, 12, and give the 13 guy. Give him somebody close.
I mean, if you were going to give him a top contender, I think Mana would be the guy to give him just because that's a guy that's going to strike with him.
True, but that's a big jump.
But that's what I'm saying. That's too high.
That's
up.
a big jump.
I'm not saying that's the fight
Yeah.
to make, but I'm saying if for some reason you were gonna. I think that's the kind of match you got to put this guy against strikers.
Probably he's got to be
Put the guy against strikers. I mean, dude, you don't putting him against an elite level wrestler. I just think I think it's silly. I don't think it's
at least at this point. I mean, it's going to happen, but yeah, I mean, there's no sense. I don't think they need to do that right now. But they did the same thing with Sage. Everybody's like, "Oh, put him against a grinder."
Right.
Then we'll see what happens, and it didn't happen.
I know. All right. Let's talk about Jessica Andrade.
Wow.
Amazing, right? Literally, dude.
Holy cow.
The power of some of those slams that she had was amazing. Not that we haven't seen before,
cannot-
but for somebody to throw Gadella around like that was
Dude,
just
it was ridiculous. Like we just got to stop making her and calling her an underdog anymore at this point. Like she's the perpetual underdog that will always just upset you. Like what she did that was, in my opinion, probably her best performance ever. And I think that it is attributed to what she went through and what she saw from Claudia. Like from Joanna.
Yeah.
I mean, like that was Joanna put her in her place, and she was like, "Wow, okay, I literally just fought the best person, didn't finish her, she didn't finish me, but realized that hey, she's got toughness days and her strength. Oh my lord, I mean."
But see, here's what's funny is after the Joanna fight, I'm not gonna lie, I hated her attitude. I know it was positive, It was too positive for me. You know what I mean? Where she was just like, granted she just got engaged, so maybe that was part of it or whatever. But you know how she was just very like happy to be here. It was an honor. Like, man, I want to see you. I want to see you up. I'm not saying I want to see you breaking down and crying or whatever. But you know what I mean? I want to see you up there just like, oh, man, I was this close. And it just, and maybe this is cliched of me or whatever, but I like to see that fire, that drive. I don't know if we've ever seen that from her. No, we haven't. But it concerned me a little bit. I'm like, hold on, man. Is she just now she's just, shit, I lost. I got blanked. What are you going to do? You know what I mean?
I guess if anything, if we were worried about that, this would be the performance.
That's what I'm saying.
This would be the performance to see if that was true.
This made me realize that judgment that I had was and it is. I mean, in cage, out of cage is two different things. I mean, you don't have to live and breathe, and you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to. In fact, it's probably almost healthy that your entire psyche and your entire well-being isn't placed on how you perform in the cage, right? You know what I mean? Especially if you're in the division where Joanna Jacek is champion, because that shit's just going to happen to you. So, but I don't know. Like that night in Dallas, I was just like, man, I don't like this attitude. I don't like just happy to be here. Got a nice paycheck, and now we're going. But my God, did she respond? Not only because, not only did she respond in fine fashion, but she got tested here. She got tested here early in the first round. You know what I mean? And she could have wilted, and she battled back. And I don't know. It just, to me, it was a phenomenal performance. The only thing is, I think she's in a tough spot right now. Because to us, in the MMA Junkie rankings, she's number 2 in the world now. She's number 2 in the world. But I think she's kind of sitting in that Joseph Benavidez position. You know what I mean? Where it's like, now not quite because she hasn't had 2. But also 2. But right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that Jessica Andrade has got to be pulling for Rose Namajunas to win in New York. Because, I mean, as impressive as that was that impressive enough to get you Joanna again?
Not so soon.
Too soon.
Which sucks because after a performance like that, the way that she handled Claudia better than Joanna did, so that was like a big jump in the just seeing how she performed immediately. So you almost think that now that she's had a taste of what Joanna can do, you almost want to see like, did she make the adjustments, or would she make the adjustments needed to kind of make more of a game against Joanna? I mean, that was a tough decision. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joanna's just Joanna, and she clearly does. She's so busy that it's hard to get around from her. Mm-hmm. But Jessica, I mean, I think, and even in this one, it wasn't like she was just like rattling off the punch. She just got that like tank. I'm going to walk forward, and when I get to you, I'm literally going to destroy you. And she walks through it. I think that's just her style. She eats a lot of punches. And unfortunately
it's just hard to catch Joanna.
That's the thing, because you're giving away half the round because of the way that she moves. And if she's peppering you up the whole time, you're going to do damage and create that giant welt on her head. Yep. When you do land, that was like quick in the fight. That was like after the first or second punch, it seemed. And that's so her style is it's a detriment in a battle like Joanna, because Joanna's just so busy that she starts the bat right off the bat. She's behind on the scorecards, and that's not going to change. And I don't think she has it right now where she's going to finish. Joanna, and that's just Joanna being Joanna. Nobody's finishing her. At least nobody has came close to doing it. We've seen some that have given her good battles, but on top of it, I mean, at this point, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again. But I know just in the facts of that it just happened recently, that you're not just going to give him an immediate rematch.
She needs Rose to win.
It would be exciting that if Rose did, because the way that is, and as exciting as I think Rose is, and if Rose can pull off what I consider a big upset, Jessica, I think, would run through Rose.
It is crazy because, I mean, listen, and you and I will both be in New York for UFC 217, and obviously we'll talk about that. I mean, right now, you got to pick you. I mean, there's nobody in the division I'd pick against Joanna, but Rose does present some problems.
Dude, Rose is crafty, man. Like, I think, and that's just the thing. Like, Rose can do these crazy moves and can catch her. And if anything, we'll probably catch her in some weird submission. I think is probably her best chance.
I agree.
To get something
in a scramble. Something in a scramble.
Some weird thing.
She's not going to
flying
dominate
triangle out of nowhere or something. But it's crazy. So I never want to count out Rose.
And get her off balance maybe and jump on her back.
But man, the fact that Jessica, I mean, has just improved so much. Like, I favor. Well, yeah, I favor Joanna over both of them if it happens. But I can see where if there's going to be something where somebody might catch Joanna off guard with something, Rose has a better chance than Jessica. But I think the way that Rose is and the way that Jessica is, I think Jessica, with that toughness and that being able to walk through that, once she gets a hold of Rose, should that happen, I think she has the skills that she would beat Rose. But I don't think it's going to get to that point. If anything else, I could see where if Jessica doesn't have an opponent but not that she wants to wait that long.
Right.
Rose would be a wonderful match to see against Jessica,
Sure
but they gotta give her somebody in that time. But I don't know, like, who else is there? She's in a tough spot.
It's a tough spot. I think she's kind of in that Joseph Benavidez spot, man.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot to be
in.
And
it's like he's at least injured, so some time can
right.
pass.
Yeah.
Not that you ever want.
Shake out a little bit.
But I did actually talk with him back in backstage in Tokyo. Said he's, because of the Performance Institute and he feels that he's 3 or 4 months ahead of schedule because of that institute. So
that's amazing.
We might see him quicker, but he's still, almost like
3 or 4 months. That's amazing.
Isn't that huge?
I mean, if that's true, I mean, obviously one guy and one fight isn't, but 3 or 4 months is a fight is a fight routine base. It's a fight rotation, right? So if that Performance Institute is able to actually earn back a fight from a fighter, that's huge.
Because that was a big one. I forget what it was called, or whatever surgery they had to get. But I mean, this is a long surgery where he normally would be out, I think, 8-9 months or longer or something like that. So yeah, if he can get 3 or 4 back or something, I mean, that saves you from getting. That's a whole. It's a whole nother fight.
It's adding
in a year's time. That's another big paycheck. That
it's incredible.
But
I think the other person's in a tough spot is Godella. Like, dude, she's so talented. And I mean, there is something wrong with her gas tank. There's something wrong with her cardio. And I'm not saying it's her work. I mean, dude, you see the type of physical shape she's in. And you see, like, she works her ass off. Something's not right, though. She tires. This was a 3-round fight.
She does, but I think I can't discredit the fact of the damage that Jessica does. I think her face was bloodied. She took a lot of damage, and I think that just wore her down. I mean,
I wonder if she could benefit from some of the analysis, though, of like of the Performance Institute. You know what I mean? Like,
just to see,
is it an oxidization issue? Is it, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be some like high level sports scientist.
Yeah.
I'm not, dude. I'm a dude drinking a fresh frosty beverage, which is just
that's
delivered.
Pretty high level shit, though.
You know what I mean? But somebody that's in that type of physical condition, it doesn't look like she should tire in 15 minutes.
And maybe there's some reason. I look forward to the day that these cats go in the Performance Institute. I'm hoping that one day, like, this place is so good that it could, like, save somebody's life one day. Like, somebody's going to go to the Performance Institute, and they're going to find out something. Like, maybe it's a situation like this. Not this, her, using her.
Yeah.
Like, some guy's like, I just fucking tire out and I don't understand. They find something like, bro, we're doing all these tests. And we found there's something wrong with your fucking heart or something. You know,
right.
You got to either do this, or get out of the game. You're like, I'm waiting for the day. Like, as high-tech and as much as they're saying about this thing, I predict these things that in the near future, we're probably going to start hearing about these people being able to say, like, and maybe telling people that, that they're finding faults with them. I mean, if this place is as high tech as it is and what it seems like, it doesn't seem that far off for me that, some fighter might be like, hey, I was working out and I was realizing I was having issues. I finally went to a place that can look at my body and tell me what the hell is going on. And hey, by the way, I found out I have a fucking defect somewhere that's been affecting my performance.
Issue that was
something like that. Like that's the shit that I envision at some point. That's what I would think the Performance Institute would be able to tell these fighters. Like, hey, as much as you're working to like fix yourself, there's something going on internally that this is the roadblock you're hitting because your body, there's something going on. I mean, like, and I would think that that's the kind of place where it is. I mean, it's as much shit as we saw through our tour going through here, everything they could tell you about your body density, your bone, your muscle, what works, the things you need to do. Hopefully this will be the place where they'll tell you, hey, bro, the reason you're hitting the wall is because, you got some degenerate chromosome or something in there that's affecting your performance. Maybe consider getting out of the game now before you degrade your body to a point to where you can't. It's gonna affect
not
whatever.
That you want to customize career short.
You don't want to affect it, but
it'd be nice
if you have the tools out there. I mean, I think that's the best thing about the Lou Rovo brain.
Lou Ruvo?
Yeah, brain stuff is being able to look at these things while they're still active and functioning individuals. I think. Hopefully the Performance Institute, instead of just protecting these assets that make them money, are doing the due diligence to actually say, hey, by the way, bro, there's something. It'd be in your best interest to maybe really start having these discussions. If that's even, and this is all hypothetical bullshit, but I'm just saying,
I believe it'd be possible. I mean, you talk about like the Lou Rubo and the Cleveland Clinic here that's doing the brain study, and like one of their biggest things is finding the precursors and identifiers of people, because it does seem like some people are more susceptible, through their genetics basically to CTE and brain issues and things like that. And there's no reason the rest can't. So, I think they'll be working towards that. All right. Ovince Peru, the last thing I want to talk about in Japan, third finish via Von Flue choke. What's funny is,
Von Prue choke.
It should be the Von Prue choke. There's no doubt about it. It should definitely be the Von Prue choke.
No offense to Jason Von Flue.
Jason Von Flue. No offense, but dude, if a dude gets your move down 3 times in the UFC, yeah, son, including 2 in a row.
But how many times you got to do it to where they make it and they call it your name?
It should at least be the Von Prue. That's a nice midway point. You know what I mean? You hang on to the Von Flue heritage. He's got
to tweak it one little bit to make the Von Prue.
But here's what I want to say about it, because I remember when he finished Nikita Krylov with it, and I remember watching it live. I'm like, how the hell do you get finished by a Von Flue choke? I mean, literally the defense to the Von Flue choke is just let go of the head, basically. You have to, the guillotine that you're working for, when they switch out to the side, you've got to let go of that position. And I went back and watched on instant replay at that night, and I was like, oh, dude, listen, OSP, because here's, I guess what I want to say is I feel like a lot of people have been kind of minimizing what OSP has accomplished with these 3 St. Preux chokes, and they're being like, dude, it's a rookie move, you shouldn't get finished by it. And you're right to a degree. Like, it's pretty easy to get out of if you counter at the right moment. But if you go back and watch all 3 that he's done, he does a phenomenal job of trapping that arm. It's not like people don't realize they can't let it go. He pinches it over. Like, he hooks the arm and uses his head to press against it, and he makes it so that if you're trying to let go, you can't work your arm free. And it's just slick, man. It's so slick that there's one guy that has figured this out. You know what I mean? That is perfected. I mean, it's to me, he's perfected the maneuver. Like, it's a position that you feel pretty safe in, but he's figured out how to take a moment where you feel safe and make it a dangerous attack. And I think, the fact that this was in a little watched card in Tokyo. I don't know if you saw the ratings. I think I saw the reports that Bellator's ratings were actually higher. Now, they were on Saturday night, not Friday night. It was on a more distributed channel, but still, Bellator was actually more watched. So I think the fact that it was, kind of little watched, the fact that it was against a late replacement opponent that was moving up 2 divisions in Yushin Okami, I'm sure people will kind of write it off, but I think you got to give OSP some respect here, man, dude. Like, the guy, I just feel like a lot of people that the reaction I've seen is like, oh my God, like, how do how do these people keep succumbing to this stupid move? And I think what you have to realize is, you're right, it is kind of a stupid move, but OSP has done such a great job of attacking with it. I think
Yeah.
I think he deserves credit.
And it comes so quickly. Once he gets in that position and he gets his shoulder sort of in there, like it happens so quick. He exerts so much force, and I have to think that a lot of that comes from his football training, the strength that they're maybe from driving sleds and all that sort of shit. That pressure
That
that
makes
they
some
have
sense.
to use
Because
with
it's
their
like a lot of
shoulders.
because he like the shoulder and the neck pressure. Like
Yeah,
it's not a place that you would consider yourself strong.
Yeah, like you don't do it, but I mean, I think when you guys working that sled or something, he just got a natural talent for being able to drive his shoulder in there, and then once it happens, I mean, it's done before you even get a chance to really think like, oh, he's doing it. I think with St. Preux, people are gonna know like, hey, that shit's right around the corner any time you think, but I think it just happened so quick, but. It was great. I mean, like I think during the whole week, just seeing him, got a chance to talk with him. You know, his mental side of things. He seems like he's gotten to a point where he just visualizes better, and he's reaping the benefits of that. And I hate to think that or say that you're ever pulling for anybody. You never, as a
Right, we can't.
as a journalist, you're not trying to pull, but this is a guy that. I've watched him, his ups and downs while I was an employee of the UFC, and, he's always been one of those cats that has just always been a good dude, man. Smiling like, in fact, for this, I mean, like, of course, there was some mix-up. I'm speaking of the pre-fight interview that I did with him. There was a mix-up of schedules, so he didn't find out about it. So the dude was up sleeping up in his room, but his corner, his
said he
manager
rolled in,
found out
like-
about it. He literally, got up out of his nap, sleep rolling out of his eyes. He's cleaning his eyes, and he's like, oh, my bad, and came down for his interview. Like, a lot of fighters wouldn't do that, and I get it. You're cutting weight. You're doing all you got to do. Like,
You're
sleep's
trying to
very
adjust
important.
to a time.
I'm just
weird
little
time.
old damn me. Like, I don't expect a guy to do it. So when somebody does switch out his routine, I mean, granted, like, shit happens with schedules, so I won't hold it against the team because, there were other people that schedules didn't somehow get translated from the initial one.
Right.
So I'm not going to hold it against the fighter. But when a fighter goes out of his way to try to rectify that, and I know it's affecting his sleep when he's coming down, I have the utmost respect, and I'm like, thank you very much for giving me the professional courtesy.
Right.
Since I'm down here, I got my shit set up, and I'm ready for you. That you actually came down. So a part of me, no offense to Yushin Okami, was pulling for him because in talking to him, he's always been a good guy to deal with. I mean, I remember with the UFC. I mean, we traveled to. I want to say we were in Tennessee. We traveled to the university, and he was out there speaking to the other football players.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was unique to kind of get that, And it's hard to stay. I'll be honest. I try to be as unbiased as ever. But when you see certain guys and you see them out there doing the leg work, you're like, man, you respect the grind. And so I definitely respected his grind coming into this fight. And then hear him talk about the doubt and the mental issues and things that happen coming off of losses. Then to see him get it together, and you're like, come on, bro, I feel it. You got this. And then come out and do it again, and then still be at the very end jovial and joking around and stuff. It's just like, it's characters like that just make you happy for the sport that you cover.
How great is that too, man?
You know?
I mean, it wasn't the best of situations, but he gets to come in,
Yeah.
not take a punch, get a paycheck.
Dude,
you know what I mean? Like
ridiculous.
it's awesome, man.
And me trying to use one of Mike Bond's stats in the presser, like, because
no.
Mike was like, tweeted like that was like only the second time that it's happened in whatever, and like, and the other time was some other fighter. So I say in the press conference, I'm like, oh, this is only the second time that a fight's ended or whatever with no significant strikes attempted, and Vince is like, well, actually, one of my other fights, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll go back and change the fucking stats. I was like, God damn it, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
It's like last time I ever used one of your damn tweets. But no, kudos to Mike. Mike
fantastic.
does good on that shit. But no, it was good. It was a good trip, man. Good fights. As much as it was difficult fight night to get through, it was a bunch of good fights.
You were in and out too, man, in Tokyo, man. That's a That's a long haul, man. I know it takes a little while. It's weird, man. Asia is one of the few places that of all the traveling we do, like it jacks up your sleep schedule. You never get adjusted, and by the time you adjust it takes a couple days, man. By the time it's crazy, man. It seems like bitching or whatever, but it takes a little bit. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get to my event, which is Bellator 183. Now, Bellator 183 was also Bellator Kickboxing 7. So here's the best way to set this up. I had a chance to speak with one Gina Carano. I promised that I wouldn't, ask her about a comeback, and she was there to support her fiance, which I didn't know they're engaged, Kevin Ross, who's a kickboxer, who's a very famous American kickboxer. I believe the story goes they had dated a long time ago. They broke up. They're back together and they're engaged now. And so it was, she was very emotional. She was very intense. But I thought, while I'm there, let's see if we can get Gina to talk about Bellator kickboxing and why we should be watching and why it matters. Because I think this is something that MMA fans probably aren't necessarily in tune to, even though it's under the Bellator brand. And I will say there were a couple notable moments for it that I do want to talk about as we wrap up this event. But I figure, what better way to set that up than to listen to a superstar in Gina Carano.
All right, well, obviously, most fans know you from your mixed martial arts career, but kickboxing is still a passion for you as well?
I mean, mixed martial arts is a passion for me, and it hasn't stopped being a passion for me my entire life. So, I really support the people that I train with, the people that I'm around, and tonight I'm here to support Gaston Bolaños and Kevin Ross. Gaston took a tough loss, but he's young, and I was in tears watching that, but he's my brother, and passion there's nothing that's gonna stop that kid. He's gonna go and take over the world, and I've yet to see my my fiance's fight yet, but just kind of people have been in this sport for such a long time, and they've been putting in the work. Kevin has been, he's been fighting for 15 plus years. He has 60 plus fights, and this is so awesome for Bellator to put on kickboxing for such a huge stage. But I personally think it should have been live. This shit should have been live. These people, Kevin Ross, Joe Schilling, these people. Let's get the kickboxing out front. Because Muay Thai out front, it's worldwide. Let's get it out front. It's a whole different crowd than the MMA crowd.
I was going to ask you, what do you think, the hardcore MMA fans? Because I think kickboxing doesn't quite have the reach right now, at least in America. Do you think, people should watch and give? If you're an MMA fan, do you think you should give kickboxing a chance and watch them? Do you think it's easy to transition from liking one to the other?
I think basically fuck chances. Fuck it. You do something because you're passionate about it, because it changed your life, because it made you a better person. And there's a bunch of jiu-jitsu people, and there's their group of people that made them a better person. We should shine the light on them. And we should also shine the light on these kickboxers and the Muay Thai people, because I get MMA puts it all together, and it's become its own animal. But there's this underground thing, kind of like when snowboarding and it's my little sister, kind of like when snowboarding and skateboarding. This is where kickboxing's at. You have some huge stars who have never been paid what they're worth, who have put in the time, who have put in their life. And you need to hear their stories, because nowadays everybody comes in, they're like, oh, I can make millions of dollars doing this stuff. These kickboxers, these Muay Thai people, it's never been a thing of money. It's been a thing of lifestyle. And that's where we're at. And that's the person I know, Kevin Ross. He's inspired me. It's not been about money for that guy. It's been about passion and putting on a show and inspiring people. And I think we need more people like that.
For maybe people that don't know, I know it's tough since it's your fiance, but can you talk about Kevin's professional career? What he means to the sport of kickboxing, especially in the United States?
What Kevin means to kickboxing, Muay Thai. Muay Thai is his original love, but what Kevin Ross means he's the face, and you can ask anybody that. Like, he's been the face that brought American Muay Thai and kickboxing to the States. That actually, he faced Thais, he faced anybody, and he didn't win all those fights. He didn't lose all those fights, but he gave some of the best Thai fighters and the best kickboxers and the best Muay Thai artists in the world. He never said no to a fight, because we came up in an era where it wasn't like, hey, we get a certain amount of money for this, we get a certain amount of that. We did it because it made our minds right and it was our passion. And Kevin has never lost that, and he hasn't lost it even to this day, where he's the main event on a big card. And thank you, Bellator, and Scott Coker for always staying loyal to putting these cards out. That means the world. But you're not going to find these people like Kevin Ross and Joe Schilling, and you guys have already missed out on a lot of legends that came before them. You should expose the legends that we have now, because it's not cool, from experience, to have people be like, oh man, in your day, if you only, find the legends now before they pass their peak, and support them. And you fans have all the control. You don't know how much you can give these people the lives that they want. And you want to support the right people, or you want to support people that are like, money, strippers, bitches, whatever. Or you want to support people that are like, I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to support people. I'm here to love a community. So, I don't know. People got to get their minds straight in order to support the right people. That's what I think.
So there you go. Gina Carano, the legend, is such a superstar of sport, man. She was definitely one of the biggest. I mean, still gets clicks these days. There's no question about it. If she ever wanted to come back, she could. But she was there to support her fiance, Kevin Ross. Listen, we saw some frustration from a lot of people. I mean, this event is going to air next week. If you haven't seen Bellator Kickboxing 7.
She can't say whether he won or not?
Well, I can, because we reported it.
Did he?
Yeah, he did win. It was a great fight. That's kind of what I want to touch on.
Besides the fact that it was the longest event in history?
20 fights, dude.
Dude, that's nuts. When I saw that, you were like, "Oh, it's at the end of whatever," and I was like, "Wait, he's still working?"
7. I think we ended up being there for 8 hours.
Holy cow.
8 hours of fights, and they were good.
Wow.
So, all right. So the kickboxing. We'll talk about the kickboxing real quick. Worth watching. I think it'll be edited. It airs on tape delay. It airs after Bellator 184, which is next Friday night, the night before UFC 216. So definitely worth watching. Kevin Ross had a split decision win. He claimed the inaugural Bellator featherweight title, Bellator kickboxing featherweight title, I should say. They do use the same weight classes as MMA. It was a good fight, man. It was a really, really good fight. It was actually, from what I understand, when it airs on Bellator kickboxing, it won't be the main event. That will be Raymond Daniels versus Kareem Gaji, which we'll get to in a second. But in the building, it was the main event. Actually, it was the headline, because Kevin Ross is local, so they wanted to make it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's normal.
Yeah.
Then.
So exactly, they switched it out. So if you look at like the event art, Daniels Gaji is listed as the main event, and so, but that's not what it is. But it's a great fight. It was back and forth, split decision win towards Kevin Ross. He claimed the inaugural featherweight title. It's a fun fight, really good fight to watch. Raymond Daniels, dude. I think a lot of people know Raymond Daniels by now, the name. This was the first time I had a chance to watch him compete in person. Holy shit, this guy he's a star, man. There's no doubt about it. Just his whole swagger, his aura, his everything was amazing. And his walk into the ring, he had a montage of 6 different walk-in songs. And wow. he's singing every single one of them when they cut over to the new edit. I mean, so great. And then he goes in there, and he's fun to watch. I mean, he's one of the most creative, entertaining stylists that you'll ever see. I had seen highlights of him, I had seen video, but this is the first time I watched him compete in person, and it was fantastic. And it was cool because so he ends up picking up a win and claims the Bellator kickboxing welterweight title. And then that night, his crew was basically like walking around San Jose with the belt. Like, one of his boys was basically just like, holding the belt in the air like wherever they went. Essentially, it was kind of
Nice.
it was so I could see. I was watching him walk down the street with the belt, so that was great. Joe Schilling picked up a win. Joe Schilling. Again, he took to social media before the fight even happened on Instagram, and he was like, "Why the f are these fights not being, aired? Why are they not being watched live? Why are we waiting 2 weeks to tape delay these?" And I'm not. Listen, I can't argue with that. It's just stupid, man. 2 weeks of tape. 2 weeks?
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So Joe Schilling picked up an impressive win as well. He was just schooling this kid, man. Joe Schilling looked great. Jorina Bars. She looked amazing. She had a shirt on at the weigh-ins. Undefeated Jorina Bars had a shirt on that said, "You have a better chance." I'm trying to remember. I have a picture of it. You have a better chance of seeing Elvis or fighting Bruce Lee than you do of beating me. I thought that was awesome. But she's undefeated. She's probably best known for beating Cyborg Justino in a lion fight kickboxing match.
Elvis is out there.
Just not the real one.
We got like 30 of them just down the street from here.
But it was a fun card. I think if you got time on Friday night and you're free, at least DVR it or whatever. There were some good fights. It was worth seeing. But Bellator's got to fix this shit, man. And again,
it is weird.
It's
one thing
like
hours, which is already like crazy, but
2 weeks
is different.
2 weeks.
That don't make no damn sense.
No damn sense.
That's like, hey, sorry, we got to wait for this fucking check to clear before we could pay for the next broadcasting bill. 2 weeks makes no sense at all, unless you're padding numbers, like you're going into a new quarter and you want numbers to be better on a certain.
I don't know.
There's no
it's
damn
a TV
reason.
decision, but it's a stupid decision. And I told him, I was like, listen, I hope you guys aren't expecting me to not report the results. They're like, no, of course we know we can't stop you from reporting the results. They're like, we're not going to be tweeting things out and everything, but of course we're not trying to stop you. I'm like, well,
so they didn't do anything Fight Night. They didn't tweet or say anything.
It's like it didn't exist.
So the PR just took the damn night off?
They were there because they actually – it's not like a separate brand. So they were there watching, figuring out how they're going to market these guys moving forward. But, yeah, it was bizarre. But it's worth watching.
Crazy.
It was entertaining. Bellator 183, Benson Henderson. He's now 1-3 in Bellator, man.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? Crazy. I
love this opponent, though.
Tough opponent. I loved his attitude going in. I loved his attitude afterwards. I thought maybe he had just kind of checked out, but that's not the case, man. He's still focused. Yeah. He's still, intent on succeeding, and I think he was kind of fighting back tears at one point during the post-fight. If you haven't seen it, it is on our YouTube. Of course, it was on MMA Junkie as well. But I think he was kind of fighting back tears a little bit, some emotion, where he was like, "Listen, I could go, I could be pissed off and I could go here and I could tear this TV off the wall, but guess what? It's not going to do any good. The bottom line is I just got to get back in the gym and do better." But, I mean, it's crazy, that quote that Dana gave me that, when Benson Henderson left, and that quote that Dana gave me where he's like, "Listen, I'm looking for guys that are going from 15 to 1, not 1 to 15. And it was funny because he didn't mean it. He really didn't mean it in a derogatory fashion. I've talked to Dana since then, and he's like, "Listen, I have all the respect in the world for Benson Henderson. I love Benson Henderson. I have nothing bad to say about him." But he did give me that quote. You know what I mean? It was kind of a slap in the face. And I remember hitting him back and being like, "Are you sure you're okay with this?" He was like, "Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. We're looking for guys that are moving up the ranks, not moving down." I was like, "Yeah, man, but damn, dude, I mean, it's just crazy to see that he's at 1-3 now, man. It's just the close fights. He had so many close fights in the UFC and WC. And the close fights that he was able to get the nod before, he's not getting now, and that's dude, he's a classy dude, man. He's a good individual, but man, he's in need of a win, bro. He's got you can't keep. I mean, I'm sure they're paying him pretty solid. You know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, he's collecting a nice big old paycheck. I mean, great guy to have as an ambassador to the sport for your brand, but end of the day, I mean, they're paying a lot of money. But I guess they're getting the benefit regardless at that point because he's still bringing eyeballs to it. But I'm sure he's probably more upset, for himself. And, I mean, he wants to get that win. I mean, I know he's not just wanting to go in there and collect a paycheck. That's for sure. I mean, I don't see that ever in him to just check out and be like, all right, I'm just going to come collect a paycheck. He wants to win.
I wondered until I talked to him this week, both pre-fight and post-fight. I had wondered if he had maybe checked out a little bit because he had talked about retiring around 33, 34. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's definitely still focused. I think he definitely still wants to win. So, but you touched on something there, so Lorenz Larkin is now 0-2, right? Paul Daly, impressive win there. Lorenz Larkin wants to fight him again. Probably not going to happen right away. But, I did think about it, and Scott Coker wouldn't admit to it, but, Benson Henderson, you paid a lot of money for Benson Henderson, right? You paid a lot of money for Lorenz Larkin. They're not getting the results that you want. On some degree, you might look at that and say, wow, this was a failure, this was a waste. But I do think, too, there's a flip side of it. Like, by doing that, you basically paid money to show the world that the guys you already had on the roster are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like that flip side of it. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, and Scott, I tried to get Scott to admit it.
Positive spin on it.
Well, it is. But I tried to get Scott to
spending.
admit if he saw it. He definitely wouldn't. He definitely wouldn't bite and say that. Yeah, that's true. But I feel like, on the one hand, you could say we failed, dude. We paid all this money for free agents. But on the other hand, I think if you pay money for free agents and your guys win, aren't you kind of showing? I mean, I feel like this card. I said it going in. I think I was more excited about the Bellator card than the UFC card. And I think a lot of it was the overlap of the UFC names coming in. But I feel like maybe this is one of those cards where people go, hey, man, some of these Bellator guys are actually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think and it might go to the next, like, I guess the next big question, the big McDonald fight that's coming up. I think I can see where a lot of people are like, okay, well, this UFC guy maybe hasn't panned out yet.
Right.
This UFC guy hasn't panned out yet. But now you got McDonald coming in, and now I think he's already showed that he's what he did to Daly was super, super impressive.
Right.
So I could see where a lot of people are like, okay, all right, this is one thing where maybe they're getting their money's worth.
Right.
I know he wants to be fighting more often because he wants to get that money. I'm not sure what he's getting paid, but I'm sure it's pretty darn decent that he was able to come over. But I think you're right. I mean, regardless of whether they can, I think you're putting a good spin on it where they're like, yeah, we're paying all this money, but just shows, see, all these guys have been good because I think ultimately they want them to win.
I'm
because
just always looking at the silver lining.
I'm
such a positive guy.
Because, they want them to win so they can
That's
keep
why we're the
bringing
yin
more
and the
people.
yang, basically. You got Cole Coffey just shit on stuff, and you got me to, like, kind of try to look positive.
That's right. But I don't know. I think there'd be some people, if McDonald were to lose, then I think a lot of people might be like, see, look at this organization that's paying way too much money.
Rory McDonald, because Michael McDonald does have a fight finally.
True,
But yeah, Rory McDonald.
I'm sorry, Rory McDonald. If Rory McDonald were to lose, I could see where a lot of people are like, hey, look at the three biggest high-profile guys that you've brought in, look at how they're doing. I mean, Bader did well for himself last time. I mean, Phil Davis is doing okay, but I mean, who knows? I mean, it's interesting because these are all guys that, I think still have fight left in them.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people think that they were probably on the downside. Whether that's true or not, I think they do have ability. But you're right. I mean, like, it does go to show that Bellator does have good fighters that have been there grinding. I think the same thing with, like, World Series of Fighting. Look at Justin Gaethje coming in to the UFC, and a lot of people are like, oh, this dude's a joke. He hasn't fought anybody. And then he went to a very, very dangerous Michael Johnson and just fucking handled it.
Love me some Justin
That
Gaethje.
was a great fight. And, I mean, that was an awesome fight. We need to find out, is Michael Johnson all right after that fight? That was an impressive fight. So, I mean, same thing with Strikeforce. People are looking at Strikeforce like it was like iffy. I mean, like, Coker knows what he's doing. I think he does have a good eye to get guys that still have that talent, but I think also, too, they pay a premium for guys that maybe they shouldn't have to pay a premium for. And I think the fact that they're not, I think they're still getting some return because people are still buying tickets. People are watching because they're using the name of these fighters, so they're still getting ultimately what they wanted from it. Now, granted, if the guys can go on a big run and can really prove themselves up and head towards the top, towards the championship, then they can get a little bit more value out of them when they're advertising and they're promoting stuff out there. Regardless, they're getting what they need from these guys,
right?
Whether they win or they lose. Ultimately, I would think that they would want to lose. Win.
Want to win, yeah.
But even if they don't, ultimately, they're still getting what they're paying for. None of these guys are going in and throwing fights or performing like they don't give a fuck. These guys are legit going in trying to win just as hard as they were in the UFC, and that's all they need to do to justify getting paid the money that they're doing.
It's interesting because, I mean, you look at guys like, I think you and I are always, we enjoy finding, like, these up-and-comers. Like, I know, like, you mentioned I love watching new fighters. I love, I think about guys that have, like
Darren Till.
Darren Till, a guy like a Mike Perry who's exploded
Mike Perry,
lately, a Nico Price. You know what I mean? Guys like that. The guys like that we all love, right? And they're real. I mean, they're legit and they're fun. But, like, if you had a card that had Darren Till, Mike Perry and Nico Price on it versus a card that had...
Or even like a Francis Ngannou, like maybe a year or so ago. People
a year or so ago, right?
Who was that?
Versus a card that had Benson Henderson, Lorenz Larkin, Roy Nelson on it. You know what I mean? Like, which is the better card? Oh, it's this one over here with the youngsters on it, the up-and-comers, right? But as far as the casual fan that's just tuning in to Spike TV, they don't know who the hell those guys are. They know Roy Nelson. They know Lorenz Larkin.
I know that guy that does a belly rub, and I know this. Yeah.
So it's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Bellator is doing a smart thing. It's kind of weird to think that they could steal some of that spotlight if even though the more promising fighters, are over in the UFC. Like, it's such a tough choice, man, because how long do you hang on to these guys? How much do you continue to pay them a premium dollar? Yeah. When by doing that, you're not allowing the world to see a Mike Perry, a Nico Price, a Darren Till, a Francis Ngannou.
On these veterans or whatever.
And just the spot, not even necessarily the money, just the fact that the physical spot itself. Yeah. So it's tough, man.
Speaking of Big Country, how was that? How was he all week?
Dude, I even told him, I was like, bro, I'm not gonna lie, like just off record. Like,
you're talking about for his fight or just fight week?
Fight week.
Okay.
I told him afterwards. I was like, man to man, dude. I thought you had completely checked out in your career, dude. I'm like, he was actually like engaging and jovial and in a good. Whereas before, like his last couple fights in the UFC, like he would just show up for media day and just be like, "The fuck am I doing here?"
But let's be real too. That was like when he had some rough. But he also was having rough times with like Dana. Dana was kind of a dick to him, I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he was done. He was ready to get out. I mean,
so it wasn't so much that Roy was just like,
he told you and I like
this
4 fights ago. He was like, well, as soon as I get my contract done, I can go to Bellator.
Yeah, like I mean, like and I don't even want to say the UFC was treating him sort of maybe not as good as they could have. Ultimately, it was Dana. Dana that was being kind of weird to him. And I think when it came down to, money and just different other things. I mean, because like the staff fight week, and Roy would even say like, the people on the ground, the operations crew, they treat everybody great. Mm-hmm. Like, and you'll hear any fighter say that. So it wasn't like Roy had any beef with the people during fight week. It was just the way that the organization was pushing him out there and stuff. I think towards the end, he seemed checked out because it seemed like the brass at the top of the UFC had checked out on him.
He was completely rejuvenated.
And so I think he was just like, all right.
Completely rejuvenated.
That's awesome.
Man.
I mean, because Roy's a good dude. And Jesse is great, his wife. I mean, he's got a good family. Like, all of his...
He was repping his Rico's cheese brand all week long, hyping up Rico's cheese.
The fuck is Rico's cheese?
Dude, you know what's funny is? So he's talking about Rico's cheese. It's like they created... According to him, I haven't fact-checked him here. They created the movie theater nachos, basically. Like
really? Fucking love movie nachos.
I'll tell you what's funny, though. And I almost sent him a picture of this, and I didn't. I was like, maybe that's a little too much. I got home, and I opened my pantry, and son of a bitch, if my wife hadn't got 2 cans of Rico's cheese that was sitting in there.
Awesome.
Like, so I was like, I guess this cheese is famous. How about that?
That's awesome.
But he was funny. Like, fight week, he'd be in interviews and just be like, it was like, well, talk about, hey, listen, not to delve too much into your personal finances, but, the sponsorship situation without Reebok. He was like, oh, no. He's like, it's fantastic. I'm able to align myself with products like Rico's cheese, which was created in 1904. It's the nation's longest running cheese company. Oh my God!
You know what I had for the first time the other day, and this just made me think about food. I'm trying to jump off for Roy, but I'm not. I had that Kerrygold, the Irish butter.
Oh, I told you, bro.
Dude, I had some today. Like I put it on some toast, and it was.
I'm telling you right now,
delicious.
If you're not having Irish butter, you're doing it wrong. You need to have Irish butter. Go with the Kerrygold. Regardless, John Kavanaugh sold me on that.
It's not the cheapest, but it's not the most. I find like I'll use regular butter for like other little things.
Dude, if you're just cooking or something like that, use whatever. But if you're like buttering up a piece of toast
or something,
my God, like you put that Kerrygold on there.
It was really good. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that because just today I was like, because I had to make sure, like when I went on my trip to Japan, I told H&H, I was like, don't touch my butter. I was like, don't eat my butter. There's margarine and other shit in there. Don't touch the butter. The butter's for when I get back.
Kerrygold's phenomenal.
But yeah,
phenomenal.
well, good. That's awesome. I mean,
Well,
like,
speaking of
I'm
food,
glad Roy's
Aaron Pico de
doing well.
Gallo. No, Aaron Pico looked phenomenal. I will say this though.
He did.
It looked phenomenal. Now I will say this: the
Holy
guy that he
cow.
was fighting, I didn't see the broadcast because obviously I was there. But they were saying on the broadcast, I guess, like the dude hadn't been training and didn't have a corner and.
Said he'd been training himself. He didn't have a proper, I don't know, coaching regime
So that's
or whatever.
weird,
so
right?
he
I
was
mean,
training
Aaron
himself.
Pico, super prospect, fighting a guy that doesn't even have a team is kind of weird. But you know what? The dude's 0-1, man. Like, he's a kid.
Dude's
Like,
0-1,
he's
but-
20. You know what I mean? He's
Well,
21 now.
But when you look at who, like, Aaron had, like, multiple, like, sort of big-name dudes behind him.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like, everybody's been pumping him up. You think almost that you got to look beyond the fact that he was 0-1.
What I'm just saying, like,
You gotta
I
look
feel like
beyond
it's
that.
weird that they matched him up with that. Like, I mean, like if
that's
this
on
is
the-
super prospect, I feel like it's weird. But at the same time, like, I'm kind of okay. Like, let him develop a little bit, right? Like,
Dude,
Let him
he's
develop a little
fucking
bit.
developed. The way that we've been seeing people, like, talk about this kid and cover him.
so you don't like that? So you didn't like the matchup then?
Knowing the fact that if the organization knew that this guy coming in didn't have a proper coaching or whatever going, you gotta
That's
step
true.
you gotta step outside of the fact that this Pico kid is 0-1.
I didn't find out till after I'd left that was the case,
Like,
so I didn't have a chance to ask
dude,
Rich
they
too. Like,
set
did Rich
this kid up.
Did Rich know that like this dude
They
is
set
like
this kid up to get his ass whipped.
he got laid out?
Pico needed like a good win, but like Pico has like what 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, Eddie Bravo, and like all these other like big
Yeah.
name dudes
Oh,
behind
it's crazy.
him.
You'd be like, "Wow, I was at 10th Plan, then I was at Wild Card, then I was at
It's like,
AKA."
AKA,
You're
AKA, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, holy shit, and you're 0-1.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, these guys know something. People are trying to get on the ground floor of a kid that very well, and especially after that performance, kid's a star in the making. His
Olympic level
skills,
wrestler,
holy shit.
Golden Gloves boxer. I
That
mean,
was
the guy's
what
a real
people were
deal.
expecting to see that last fight. That's what everybody thought was going to happen that last fight, and that's why when it didn't, people were like, whoa, do we just buy into the hype train? But, I mean, a kid that's got this now pedigree of these people that he's working with, this kid's going to – he has every tool in the bag to have the potential to be. And these guys aren't just going to fucking jump on the bandwagon and try to train this kid without seeing something.
Oh,
So they
absolutely.
obviously saw something to do it. But for the fact of that, you're only going to look at the record, and they had to have known, all right, well, hey, who do you have, what gym are you train out of? What do you do, whatever? Oh, well, I just kind of train myself. I don't really have a whatever. I'm just here. I don't really have, like, even a proper corner.
It's not good.
You would think at some point they'd say, oh, this is going to be
We
a
got
fucking
anybody else?
bloodbath. And if they don't, they know exactly what the fuck they're doing. They know what they're getting. They were setting up that kid to get destroyed. And kudos to him for having the heart to get in there. I'll say it a million times.
Is
Even-
that okay
even
though, man? I mean, is it
It's
okay
not
to start?
okay.
Is it okay to star build? Is it okay to star build?
Well, it's okay to star build, and that's great. But, I mean, let's have an evenly matched fight. You got to look beyond the records. You know, you could have somebody that should have been a professional probably 2 or 3 years ago that's just been destroying people. But, unfortunately, they're 0-0.
Right.
You know, but clearly people have seen stuff that you want it to be competitive. Like, they didn't want that fight to be competitive. They wanted one thing. They wanted to showcase how good this kid is. And that kid is every bit as good. But they knew that kid coming in, was it even short term? Was it short notice on the other guy too? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
But still, no, when I heard that and I was watching that on the broadcast, I was like, holy cow. Good for him.
He
The kid's
starts-
able to.
I will say
you know,
this:
to do
it
it,
was
but-
cool for Aaron Pico to get that monkey off his back after the debut at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
it was kind of funny the setup that we had. So I was in the back actually. The
I like the piece
the
of Pico de
prelims I
Gallo.
watched it.
Are we that hungry that we're already
I'm
we're
pretty
like
hungry.
segueing?
I can't wait
food?
I can't wait to finish up and go to B Dubs.
I'm still looking at butter on my screen.
I'm definitely
here.
getting some B Dubs on the way home. It was funny the setup that we had. So I was in the back during the main card. The prelims I set cage side. The back I was in the main card because obviously I was there by myself the way you were in Tokyo. So I was doing the video. They had a setup in the back, and they basically they had to do medicals real quick, but you know they don't have like a broadcast partner like where they have to go talk to Fox or they have to go. You know what I mean? Like they don't do that. So it was literally like 5 minutes after the fight was over. I mean,
He's
I mean,
right there in front of you.
Oh, dude, because the guy had starched him. You know, medicals. It was
Yeah.
like, you okay, bro? Yep. You know what I mean?
Good.
Like, so he's literally there like 5 minutes after the knockout. He's in front of us, and he's just like, He's
Still
like,
amped up.
dude, he's literally like shaking. Like he's so
Wow.
like adrenaline ridden
Adrenaline,
that
yeah.
he's just like I don't, just talking a mile a minute and just like it
Wow.
was fucking awesome. He's like, I don't even know.
He's high as high as a kite. Was that performance? I mean, it was picture perfect. I mean, like he completely just looked so impressive. He looked like he was fighting a young kid, like a guy that had never probably had a fight before. I mean, like he looked like he had concrete in his hands.
It was nuts.
That kid has such potential.
I think I'm not sure when it'll come out. I think it's our knockout of the month for MMA Junkie.
Really?
I think it's our knockout of the month.
Dude, the kid is fucking. It's impressive. But I mean, all the credit to his poor opponent who, if it is in fact like the guy's been self-doing it, like I guess if he could take away the fact out from it, a positive, like I know you're Mr. Positive,
silver lining.
the fact that he ultimately got beat by a guy that could be a champion in Bellator, champion in UFC in a couple years' time.
True.
Easily. I mean, a kid is super, super impressive, but shame on you, Bellator, because you knew what you were doing. You were setting him up to get a good ass whipping.
The main card kicked off with Goita Yamauchi picking up another win. That dude is the real deal, man. He's like 24 years old, already has 24 fights, 25 maybe now. Guy's the real deal. I'm excited about him. Prelims, a lot of prelim fights. Oh my God, they have so many fights. Brooke Mayo, who I love Brooke Mayo. She's the one that had the eye, the hematoma in her pro debut, and the fight was stopped, and she was pissed about it. And then for her sophomore effort, she shows up at the weigh-ins with a book with the title on it that says "People to Kill," and inside it she has her opponent's name. She lost.
Does anybody crossed out?
Yeah, nobody's crossed. Well, she's 0-1, so now she's 0-2, which is crazy. But
I was wondering if she was going to have any amateur fights or somebody.
That'd be funny. Gaston Bolanos, who I think was another prospect that people really hyped on, he lost. It was a spectacular fight, but prelims didn't necessarily go the way they wanted it. But I don't know, it was fun. It was fun covering a Bellator event.
They put on fun events.
They do. We're doing a little bit more of it moving forward. So I had a good time in San Jose. I don't know when the next one I'll be at. We don't have anyone going to Thackerville, which is 184, which is next week, just because.
I'll be gone.
Yeah, you're on vacation. Simon.
I don't have 5 weeks of vacation, but I seem to get a few here. Or
You're
there.
on vacation going to Spain, like a baller. Just got back from Tokyo, not heading to Spain, trying to bitch about me in my 5 weeks vacation. So Simon's actually going to come out here and help me out with 216 coverage. I feel like there's somebody else has something going on too. So we're not able to send somebody at Thackerville, but we will have somebody at Mohegan Sun. Matt Erickson is going to go out to Mohegan Sun later in October for the debut of Gegard Mousasi in Bellator. So
no shit.
Yeah, we're covering a little bit more of them. All right, couple quick things.
I look forward to my debut in
gotta love it.
Bellator.
Gotta love it.
In sunshine.
It's not easy being green.
All right, that was just some audio that we had saved up,
Random.
I guess. Hey, real quick, Hugh Hefner passed away.
Oh, my Lord.
The jokes have been phenomenal, by the way.
Pour a little out for the homie. Yeah, I
The
love it
jokes
when
have been
somebody was
phenomenal.
like, if they thought he was going to a better place.
No,
he's not.
absolutely not. The only guy you know that's not in a better place. Oh, man. But Dan Stuff actually put out a pretty cool piece today on MMA Junkie. If you didn't see it, he covered the first Strike Force at the Playboy Mansion show 10 years ago. And he put up a bunch of pictures. There's a shitload. He went back and found his hard drive or whatever and got a bunch of old pictures of most of the crew looking much younger. And
that's awesome.
Most people a few pounds lighter. He's the other way around. He was heavier than he's lost.
Yeah.
He's lost a shit ton of weight.
Even George and Goes posted some. I think there were some old ones. And George was heavier than.
Yeah. So
I was like, who's that dude there with Goes? I was like, oh shit, that's George.
I actually, if my memory serves me right, I don't think I know. In fact, I know I wasn't at that event, but I was at Strike Force at the Mansion 2, I believe. I went to the second one, but not the first one. I went to one of them, so I did get to attend an event at the Playboy Mansion, which was pretty cool. It was one
Where's
of those,
the Mansion?
It's in LA. It's right by the UCLA campus.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. It's just like in this neighborhood.
Like a
Yeah,
nice
man.
neighborhood.
It's just a nice neighborhood, and so I did get to go to Playboy Mansion one time, which it's kind of I don't want to say a bucket list thing. It's kind of cool, you know what I mean? I was definitely a few pounds lighter then, so kind of cool. But yeah, Hugh Hefner passed away. And the last thing I want to share, my kid's still training at Extreme Couture, doing good. He's enjoying it. I always find myself in a weird position though when I'm there because anytime I'm around MMA, I feel like I'm kind of working, but at the same time, like I don't want to be like necessarily like reporting on anything. Like for instance, they have a list of pro fights that their pro fighters have coming up, right? And I won't say what fight it was, but they had a fight listed on there that hadn't been reported. And
so it's just on the board in the room?
It's just like a marker board, like over there, like hey, this is date.
You just
fighter,
have it in
opponent.
the front room?
Not in the front. It's in the back. But maybe it's like it's next to the cage or whatever. And like I saw it, there was a fight on there that wasn't reported, and I'm like, I'm not. And it was funny because my wife was with me because I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, that's funny. She's like, well, you gonna report that? I'm like, no. Like, that's kind of dickish. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's the wrong way to get information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm in a weird position like that. But two things I thought were fun to share. First of all, Uriah Hall walked in the other day, and obviously not a formal conversation, but I just had to tell him, I was like, dude, like he was really happy. He was struggled in that first round against Krzysztof Jotko,
dude,
and then
time.
came back, and I was like, I just had to tell him, I was like, bro, again, because it wasn't a professional conversation. I feel like when I'm there and I'm watching my kid, I'm take the work hat off for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I just got to tell you, Uriah, man, gutsy, man. Just I feel like, and he was like, dude, he's like, I feel like maybe that's a moment in my career. Where like he's like I just said fuck it, you know what I mean? He's like I went out there and I felt timid and I felt uncomfortable and weird, you know what I mean? He's like it just didn't feel right, you know what I mean? And it so makes sense because the Uriah has always struggled. Like some days he's great, some days he's not. And he was like, man,
he was losing.
Yeah,
if it would have continued, it would have lost. He would have lost.
Yeah, so. and he was just like he was like, dude, I just said fuck it.
That's awesome.
Fuck it.
That's what it looked like.
You know what I mean?
And my Lord, because you could see it in his face though after the win. Like he took damage, but you could see that he just said, "Fuck it." Well, if I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna lose going out on my shield, and it fucking worked in his favor. And I was even telling people it was a fight. I was like, this Jotko kid's the fucking real deal.
He's a real
man.
deal. Like he doesn't. Even Uriah was saying, he's like, listen, man. He's like that Jotko. He's like. He's kind of awkward. He's kind of – because he is. He's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like the way he moves, the way – it just – you're like, this guy's – but he's good.
Yeah,
he's really good. You know? So,
he's really
I don't know.
good.
That was cool, man. Because I really do feel like this is one of those moments that Uriah might serve as kind of a – not a launching board. I mean, the guy's been hyped and excited, but a learning lesson where you can take something from it.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, I realized, like, just you got to say fuck it.
Yeah,
fuck
I mean, if mental down, as much as we hear so much – the mental side of thing is just as big as the physical side because the mental side will affect the physical side. And if there is any doubt or whatever, it's going to get it because I think they either got to that point in the fight where he's like, all right, it's not going that way. You start feeling that self-doubt and you're like, maybe I'll just turtle up instead. Or maybe I'm just going to say, fuck it. If I'm going to lose, I'm going out. Let's do it. And it was amazing.
It was awesome.
It was
man.
amazing.
It was awesome. I had to give him the kudos that he definitely deserved. And it was cool to hear that he was like,
there.
yeah, he'd been hired. So he spends a lot of time at the Performance Institute, a lot of time at Extreme Couture. The other person, hilarious, Cody McKenzie is back in Vegas.
Interesting.
Back in Vegas. I would say we need to get him in here, but I don't know if we necessarily need to get him around. He wants to give it one last run, man. He's training at Extreme Couture. He's like, man, I moved out here. Yeah.
Or what is it?
Is it?
Are you on the wagon if you're not doing anything? And off as if you are.
Bro, I've been just careening with a drunken wagon for years, so I don't know I don't know if it's on or off. To be honest with you, I'm just trying not to get my wagon pulled over by the cops.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna knock on wood.
I wish I hadn't said that. Edit that out. No, listen, but Cody McKenzie's out. So, dude, I love Cody McKenzie, man. He's such a character. Definitely, as you said. I mean, had his issues with alcohol over the years, and I mean, the Venator show that I did over in Italy, man. I saw him. I saw him sitting there drinking the night before the fight. You know what I mean? Like crazy.
Well, I remember seeing in the UFC guy who's now he's a pro wrestler.
Riddle?
Yeah, Riddle. I think drinking in the bar like the night before, like weigh-ins, or no, it was before his fight. And I remember people were like, "Oh, I can't believe that." But then he won, and I was like, "Who gives a fuck?" You're gonna go in there and drink, and then you're gonna come out and start your opponent.
I didn't know that.
Do you?
I don't remember that.
I want to say it was him. I hope I'm not picking the wrong fight. I want to say it was him.
I know he was huge. I mean, huge stoner.
Yeah,
Huge
but
stoner.
no, it was definitely him drinking. I think it was just like, I want to say it was him. It was just like with his buddy, and just wanted to get out of his room. I think he'd spent
Like,
most of the week in his
give me
room.
some
Was like,
drinks.
yeah, like he made weight and was like
Fuck it.
done. Like, I fight tomorrow. I'm gonna go have a beer. I'm like, who gives a fuck? And people were like, you got to fight tomorrow. I was like, it's one beer, y'all. Like, get a fucking. I don't know, but I don't know.
Incredible insight there, by the way.
Many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side.
That is amazing.
Rainbows are fishing. Gegard, stop it.
Oh man! So hopefully we'll catch up with Cody McKenzie. I like that guy. He's a character.
Fuck yeah! If he's in town, we gotta.
He's moving.
reach
He's
out.
out here now, so he's.
Who did we almost have today, but it didn't pan out?
We were hoping to have special guest Cheeto Vera, who is a character, man. He did MMA Junkie Radio this morning, but I still wanted him to come out and sit down and hang out with us. He's a good dude, man.
He's just visiting. He's not here, is he?
No, he just came out. He's doing a little training at the Performance Institute and just spending some time out here. He's not going to be here for very long, but I'd wanted him to come out tonight. I even told him I'd buy his team a couple of frosty beverages.
Do you know how long he's in town?
I don't. Well, I'll find out.
I'm gonna say because maybe so next week, hopefully, yeah. Because if we record early, because I leave Thursday, if we do record early, maybe it's Wednesday.
Yeah, we're gonna record a day early next week. Yeah. We'll record early next week. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out what we can do. But, yeah, anyway, so that's what's going on. You're going to Spain. You just came back from Japan. You're a baller. I flew to San Jose. Wow. It's great.
Dude, San Jose is pretty impressive.
It's expensive.
Dude, yeah. This is going to be my last trip for a while. I can't afford to go places. I'm going to have to pay for it myself. Like, this sucks.
So you don't have the company credit card,
this sucks.
All right, man. Well, listen, glad we were able to get back together. We will do a one-day early show next week, but it'll be right after Media Day, so we should have some stuff to talk about for UFC 216. And plus, we have a couple frosty beverages. It won't be Thursday, but we'll figure out something. We'll have a good one. And then you'll have a nice vacation in Barcelona. Maybe I'll try to do it and a half on my own somehow and put it together. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
For, let's see. Well, I mean, like you said,
I feel bad. I don't have a good time.
But I mean, you never know. Like, I'm gonna be with her, with my mom and my girl. I mean, there's some times where
you might want to get away for a little while.
Yeah, But plus, too, once you get back to your hotel, what do you do?
Nothing.
Besides eat,
drink sangria and eat paella.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm sure there'll be times in there where I have to do the boyfriend thing with the girl. That means sex for those that don't know. But there's gonna be other times where it's like, fuck it, I'll just edit. So I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna be bringing my computer. So
all right,
that's
so maybe
why I
I'll
said
throw together a little and a half and let you.
Yeah, I mean, it'll take a second before I get there. But I mean, I don't know how to vacation. I mean, I know how to vacation, but I just don't know how to not work.
I'm the same. So
I assume that
we're sad.
Yeah.
This is the sad little life we lead. So
maybe we could do it. I can do it on the road call next the week when I'm gone. We can always check in.
I like it. Road show.
Yeah,
it is called the road show.
Yeah, what?
And I'll be stuck in Vegas for the next. Do it. And then we get going. Then we get going, man. We got Poland coming up. We got. I'm going to Poland. Then we got New York coming up, and then all kinds of other stuff that we'll get to later.
Yeah.
All right. In the meantime, we're losers that work too much, but we really, really appreciate it. So, thanks for listening.